Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here, and welcome to episode 72 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. As always, I am joined by, he's not wearing his Starfield shirt this week, Lord Cognito.
You know, the streets are raging, so I felt this was appropriate.
Yeah. Wow. I like that. That's thematic. Yeah.
I felt this what we doing today. So, yeah, man, I'm ready, man. The Dukes are back. Special guest in the building. My man Miles is here. Let's go, man. I'm hyped. We're going to talk these games, have some fun. I'm excited, man. I love the show lineup today. I was reading those notes at work. I was like, oh, I'm ready for this one.
Yes. As Cog said, we have Miles Dompier joining us this week from Windows Central Gaming. Miles, thank you so much for joining our little show here.
Stoked to sit down and chat with you boys. It's been a hot minute, actually, because I know we've been on each other's shows in the past, but it's been a few months. And as Cog said, the Twitter streets in particular have been pretty wild. So there's been some developments that I'm excited to dive into with you guys because, oh, man. Oh,
yes.
Oh, yes. Man.
Spicy.
You know, it's funny. Normally when I label our episodes, it's typically around the news, but I think this week is going to be the patron questions because everyone's writing in about one thing, and it's the aftermath of what's going on with Xbox, Bethesda, what's happened in 2022. So we're going to dive very deep into every possible angle because that's all y'all were writing in about. That's all we want to talk about. We got a ton of news this week, of course. We're going to talk about things like Dead Space, about Silent Hill. We got the man for the mission here, Miles, who loves his survival horror, loves his horror games in general. I remember when I joined your show, Miles, we talked about The Medium. So it's funny how this all has come full circle.
It's come full circle. You love to see it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Perfect episode for Miles.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, if you are new here, you're interested in supporting the show, you can support us on patreon.com/laststandmedia, where early access for our episodes go live on Thursdays. Otherwise, we hit all free feeds on Sundays. On top of that, you can also get Defining Duke Ultimate, our Defining Duke supplemental episodes, where episode 68 just went live. Cog and I sized up PlayStation Game Pass. We'll be talking about that extensively in this episode here today, but we wanted to get into the nitty-gritty of this service, have a full-on conversation about what it's looking like for Xbox to have a true competitor in the Game Pass space and talk about that Ubisoft Plus Classics for PlayStation catalog, what that could mean for Xbox and much more. Cog, what was the rating of this week's Ultimate show?
Ultimate was solid. I thought we were fair. We were very fair in how we approached it. And then there was some like reveals moments. We were like, oh, as far as certain specific questions I had for you, which were hilarious. But yeah, I actually liked it, man. Please check it out. Ultimate is always on the top of the docket. Make sure you get over there and check that joint out. Great episode. I enjoyed it.
Indeed. So with that, let's get into some video games. Marvel Midnight Suns is likely coming soon. It was delayed to the second half of 2022. Now a Korean games listing has revealed the rating for it. Typically, when those rating boards pop up, it means the game is certified, getting good to go. Gentlemen, are you excited about this one? Because I am. I almost forgot about this because of the delay. I won't lie.
Yeah, man. Matt Miles?
I was going to say, I'm infamously not a huge isometric guy. Like, I wanted to like XCOM. I played XCOM, appreciated it. I'm just bad at it, is what I'll say. I'm just bad at it, so I don't have a good time with it. So I'm kind of indifferent on this, honestly. It's by some of the XCOM folks, so it's got a lot of prestige behind it. I'm curious to see how they translate the Marvel formula into that style of game. But will I pick it up day one? I don't know. If that gameplay comes out slapping and blows me away, maybe I'll give another chance. Because I always buy isometric games on launch and then play it for like 5 hours and go, well, I gave him my best shot.
What about you? You're King Firaxis. I know you stand for XCOM. How are you feeling about Marvel Midnight Suns? Is this one calling your name?
Yeah, Firaxis is the GOAT to me. You know, they're the champ on the new wave of turn-based, and They got Jake Solomon, which is the A team. He's kind of like he's like my Todd Howard for tournament. Like whenever Jake's involved, it's on. Because when Jake comes outside, I'm ready. But yeah, then I'm an MCU fan. It's a perfect marriage. And Maddie, me and you talked about how like, we love to hear about those MCU characters. Sometimes who are kind of like the B level stars. We know about the Spideys and the all the other stuff. But to see this group be represented, I'm curious to see how they approach it. Like Miles said, just to see what the approach is with MCU and turn-based. So to see that coming up soon, got me a little hype now.
Yeah. Because they got Magic in there. I remember seeing Blade was in there. So they got some interesting ones. I think you get to create your own character. I'm very excited for this game. I know it sounds stupid to say because just a couple of minutes ago, I'm like, I forgot about this one. But seeing it, knowing it's coming soon, after Starfield, I feel like I just don't trust any release dates or windows. And when something's delayed, I'm like, see you whenever. So every game's just escaping my brain currently in this traumatic moment of mine. So this was one of those that did escape the cranium. And I got to say, knowing that it may be coming soon, I'm pumped to learn more. And this might be one of those big fall games. And I'm excited for Firaxis, right? Because I feel like XCOM is a big deal, but this is probably going to be their biggest game yet. So I'm excited for them on that front, but I'm also curious on how let's say this is a big success, how they adapt to all of the changes that they've brought with this game to like future entries of say XCOM or whatever else they make next. Because this does have a little more, like it's got a card game system. It's got social link elements, almost like Persona. It's very different. So I'm curious to see how they apply that moving forward. We got more on Final Fantasy VII apparently coming next month as well. This was said by Tetsuya Nomura during a live stream of Final Fantasy VII, The First Soldier, which is the Battle Royale. There's been rumors floating around about some type of PlayStation event in the early parts of June. Are they going to come outside with part 2 of Final Fantasy VII Remake? Miles, how are we feeling about that?
What if they're announcing that it's coming to Xbox, gang? Come on, guys. It's happening, right? It's happening. That's what he was teasing. He's not talking about some PlayStation exclusive future game. No, the Xbox version, baby. It's happening.
Love your enthusiasm. Shout out to Miles.
That's what I'm going to hope. That's where I'm at. That's where my energy is.
I feel you. Keep it positive.
But yes, I've seen the rumors about a PlayStation event. And if it is a PlayStation event and if it is Final Fantasy VII related, maybe potentially it is related to that part 2 of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, I kind of, it's giving me, as a Destiny fan, it's giving me the relationship between Square and Sony on that particular game gives me that exclusive Destiny content energy where contractually things are secretly extended behind the scenes and then the gamer finds out later. So it just feels, Miles, I'm with you, man. I just hope, I feel for my Xbox brethren, like they haven't experienced it. I told my Xbox, I'm like, bro, I ain't waiting. I got my PS5. I was playing Remake. I played Yuffie. I did a Sega Symbols Plus with Whole Get Added. Like I wasn't waiting because that's my heart. But it would be nice if they got it. But we'll see. Matt, you got any hopes on this?
No, I have no hopes. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I typically try to be optimistic, but I just have no hopes of Final Fantasy touching Xbox at any point outside of the older ones, just because. There's also 16, which is definitely going to be exclusive for some time, and I'm sure that will extend over and over. So I'm not really holding my breath on this one, especially with the rumors of a PlayStation event. It just really reeks of a part 2 announcement, which I am excited for. I love that game as well. I thought some of the changes they made were very brave, and I'm excited to see how they pan out in a sequel. That's kind of how I like. It's one of those games where I was very conclusive in my thoughts, like, yes, this is very good. Go play it. But this could get ugly in hindsight, like in a couple of years when we get part 2, if it ends up not being what we were looking for. So we'll see on that. But just keep an eye out for that. More on PlayStation. I think this is important to know for Xbox fans because you can start to get a gauge of what they're doing here for the generation. They may have marketing rights for Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, or it could be exclusive. This was during a big financial earnings meeting where they were showing a lot of games that they are tying to their console, and there are things like Deathloop, Genshin Impact, Hogwarts Legacy, Final Fantasy 16, Ghostwire Tokyo. A lot of those games are in some capacity exclusive or only available on PlayStation in the console front. And then on that list is from Ubisoft, the Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. When you think about what happened with the Ubisoft Plus Classics for PlayStation catalog, and you see this. Gents, are we feeling PlayStation's got another one?
Another exclusive, you say? It's interesting because if we look at Xbox and PlayStation slate for this year, both are pretty light. So both of them, I imagine, are going to be aggressively leaning into these third-party partnerships to kind of like Destiny. Maybe if it's not necessarily an exclusive, quote unquote, if you can sell the consumer on the idea that this is only on PlayStation or will play better on PlayStation or whatever the case is, if you can do that through marketing, that's one, a lot cheaper, and it's also just as effective in a lot of ways as securing the full exclusive rights. So with this one in particular, I don't know that it would be full exclusive, but it makes total sense to lean into the marketing rights because, again, let's say God of War comes out late summer, fall-ish. Outside of that, they're going to need some stuff to fill the gaps.
Yes, absolutely. Cog, what's the read? How you
Completely
feeling?
agree. I think that, I think when we had Grub on, I feel the new battle lines are drawn with the exclusive marketing rights versus Game Pass day and date with the two strategies by both companies. And I think Sony, you got to give them credit, man. They've strategically put themselves in positions with stuff like Forspoken, or they've just have the marketing rights to a lot of the bigger games. So that the casual association will think, oh, it's like it's coming just to you, kind of thing. And I think where Xbox, obviously Game Pass is such a driver, it's so big. And, we've seen things, MLB The Show, Outriders, when that's announced day and date, it's like you feel like you're getting it for free on another service. So I think this is Sony's way to combat them. And to their credit, Manny, like I always feel Sony does a good job of having their finger on the pulse of pop culture. Yeah. And Avatar, if it pops, it's a risk on their part, but if it pops, they're first in line if this rumor is to be true. And then there's the association with the brand, like, Spider-Man and other things like that. So it's one to watch, and you got to give them credit, man. This is that internal marketing warfare behind the scenes as people gear up, because to Miles' credit, they don't have a lot. Both of them, if we look at it objectively, don't have a lot of first party releases per se for the year, but these are how you fill the gaps.
Yeah, absolutely. And exactly what you said about the pop culture stuff, like Hogwarts Legacy, having your hands on that for marketing rights is big. So because that game's going to be huge. And I think Avatar is one that a lot of people are sleeping on. Not that the game will be good, but I think the brand itself, Avatar is something that people like to drag now. I don't really get it. I remember it was a huge deal when it first came out because of its CG and just how incredible it looks. But now people are just like, oh, it's not even that good. And I'm like, really? Like, we're just going to disrespect it like that? I think people forgot. I think people forgot what this thing did. So I expect it to be a massive thing just for people to see what's the thing that follows up the big thing. And obviously feeding a game off of that by Ubisoft will be successful. So I think it's a wise move on PlayStation's behalf. And I can't imagine it was super expensive. So we'll see more on that. What we'll also see more of is apparently Deathloop.
Disrespectful. So disrespectful.
There's a lot of people saying that, oh, we're going to see Deathloop at the Xbox showcase, and I was like, I don't know, I don't think so. I don't think there's a world where that's happening. And now with this, maybe we'd see DLC for Deathloop at a PlayStation showcase. Can you imagine?
Yes.
Imagine that.
Oh, can I ever? Colts actor Jason Kelly has tweeted that he is voicing for a project that he can't wait to show all of us. And in a tweet, when he was asked about it being DLC, he said, nope, it's a new title. So do we think this is like maybe, I think of Dishonored Death of the Outsider. It's a new game, but it's a new small game that came out very quickly after Dishonored 2. I think it was about a year later. So maybe we do see that. I don't know. As someone who disrespects Deathloop, I would be keen to see more, see how they can evolve the formula that I already played with Prey Moon Crash.
Oh,
so
this guy.
Do you guys have any excitement for more Deathloop? Because certainly I'm going to tarnish this conversation.
I would just like the Game Pass version of this game. When am I going to get it? Because I've been holding out. Unless some community attacked me for saying that, but I've been holding out. I know it's coming, so it's just like my backlog is crazy. So I'm like, hey, it is no need. But this is interesting. I don't know what this means, but it's interesting.
Yeah, like you said, it could be a standalone, not technically a sequel, but in the same universe, starring the same characters. And then technically he's got that loophole where it's not a sequel. I said it wasn't a sequel. But yeah, it would be interesting to see. I picked it up on PlayStation. I haven't finished it, but I did enjoy it. I like the world. I like the style. So I'd be curious to see them expand on that a little bit. And yeah, if the voice actor's involved and it's involved at a PlayStation showcase, maybe the assumption of that 1 year exclusivity for Deathloop, maybe that starts to fade away as well, and we're waiting a little bit longer to play Deathloop.
Oh,
I don't know, speculation, but mentally prepare. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, that'll be something else.
Yeah,
you guys can have it. It's fine. All right. Next thing here, I'm very excited about this one. Greedfall 2, The Dying World has been announced. Now, it's said in a couple of press releases it was arriving in 2023. In Nacon's, the publisher's own press release, it said 2024. I just know it's coming sometime soon. I imagine 2023. Steel Rising is coming out this September from the same developer, Spiders. But I loved the first Greedfall. This was a really pleasant surprise. I thought they were going to be done with it because Spiders has bounced around between so many IP, Technomancer, I think Bound by Flame, Greedfall being one of them. They've done so many, now Steel Rising. And I thought they'd just move on to another new IP. But to see it getting a sequel shows that it did really well, which makes me happy, and that they're going to be doing more with it, which is also exciting. They said it's going to be more of a tactical approach, though, this time around. And the first game was an action RPG, so very, very interested, very BioWare inspired, by the way, for those who are curious about it. That was one thing I did like about it, was just dripping with BioWare inspiration, like the conversations, the characters, the choices you can make, everything about it. Very old school BioWare, to the point that Spider said they want to fill the gap that BioWare had left behind. So they're ambitious, and I'm about it. They were a developer I used to crank on a lot, but with Greedfall, that was the game I went, okay, like y'all, when you guys get some money, you have what it takes, clearly. So I'm a believer in them. I'm excited for Greedfall 2. Am I the only one here who's a believer in Greedfall 2, however? Has anyone else played it?
I was going to say, Cog, have you played it? Because I haven't.
I tried.
So you have? Uh-oh.
Engine.
Did you play the vanilla version or you played gold edition?
I played the vanilla joint, like the first.
Yeah, I did as well.
Yeah, I was just like, man, if they had a budget though. I was just like, oh, some of these edges. And it was so weird because I'm such a gameplay guy. I usually don't let that affect me. But for whatever reason, it kind of took me out for some reason. But I like the fact that it is like a lot of BioWare energy and the decision choices in the way you could clearly inspire. So look, I'm happy that they're getting the support. I'm happy that there's going to be a sequel and hopefully the engine and things. I just want them to show out, Maddie. I want this thing to have that nice polish, because then people can really appreciate the gameplay. Because I think that's the only thing that probably set people off a little bit. But now, I like the what is it? The atmosphere, like the whole motif, the time period.
Gosh, yeah.
Colonialism. Cool. Yeah, the colonial joint.
Awesome.
Fire.
Yeah, in this one, you actually play as a native of Tier 4D, the island that you were like pretty much conquering in the first game. So that's going to be another interesting perspective. I'm sure not divisive at all. All right, we got some write-ins, then we'll get into what we're playing. Let's start off with Corey Vaught, who had a Cog. I want to get your 2 cents on this one. Hey, guys. I'll admit I don't get to listen to the show often. Nevertheless, I find your insight into games invaluable. However, since the beginning, I've always thought the intro music sounds like the start of a porno. Not sure why. Maybe it's the beat. I apologize in advance. Thank you as always. And I just found the intro of our show has a porn beat kind of day. Cog, do you agree?
Yo, I love that beat. That beat. Yo, that joint is so. I told her, I was like, we got the best beat. Like, the Friday Duke beat. Sorry, Sega Symbols. I'm not messing with. Like, it's a vibe, bro. Now, I don't know about porn vibe, but it's kind of like, it's like swanky, trendy restaurant vibe. Like, you doing something real nice and special. You got your good outfit on, you know what I mean? Like, you going to dinner. It's a nice time.
Yeah.
That's the Friday Duke music give me.
Yeah, I don't get porno vibes from it.
Yeah, I'll get shout out to Curry. I don't know where your mind's at. Salute to you, though. You like it.
You're consuming a lot of content, Corey.
Yeah, a lot.
Yes. All right. Michael Steinmetz writes in next. I ask forgiveness. I'm primarily an Xbox guy, but I've been listening mostly to Sacred Symbols. Over the weekend, I gave y'all a shot, and boy, howdy, am I a dumb for not listening to you sooner. Keep up the excellent work. Thank you, Michael. And thank you to everyone. I just want to throw this in there because we did get a lot of new listeners over this past week because of the news with Xbox. And so just a thank you to everyone who's trying out our show. Even when I'm foolish and disrespect Deathloop, you all stick with us. So thank you.
Salute, brother.
All right. We have another write-in from Ricky Dillard. This one putting some real praise on COG here. What's good, fellas? I've been listening to LSM since Colin episode 1 of Sacred, but have never written in. Initially, when DD started, I was hyped, but I didn't enjoy it as much as Sacred. There's no disrespect to ACG. I just wasn't a big fan of his work. I read about COG coming on board, but didn't think to go back to DD. I caught an episode due to autoplay on a long road trip and have since been hooked. Just wanted to give a salute to COG, give him his flowers, and let him know his presence on DD is appreciated. As for Maddie, you're always good in my books as you're a JRPG fan, Ricky. Thank you, Ricky. And I just want to remind everyone, COG's the GOAT here.
Dang, man, you got flattered me. Trying to make a black man blush. Stop it. Anyway. No, man, salute. It's really, really, really humbling. Very, very nice to hear. And I'm glad you guys are enjoying it, man. We're having a good time doing the show.
Right on. Absolutely. And with that, a writing that we can all get on here. Sean Mason writes, greetings, Dukes. I regretfully inform you that I lost a bet due to the Starfield delay. A colleague and I had a bet that if Starfield hit the original release date of 11/11/22, he would buy me the collector's edition. If it didn't hit, I would have to buy him the collector's edition of a game of his choice. But this weekend, he offered me a double or nothing. If Starfield is out by April 1st, I owe him nothing. But if it is not, I have to pay for his Game Pass for a year on top of buying him a collector's edition of his choice. I need some help, Dukes. Do I take him up on this? I have until next Monday to decide. Best, Sean M. Clock's ticking for Sean. Miles, what are you doing here? Are you going down double or nothing for the free collector's edition?
If this dude is taking the bet and I'm the other guy, I'm going on Capcom's website to see what $8,000 collector's editions they have floating around. April, this isn't going to be a popular opinion, but Redfall's got to come out first. Redfall's got to come out first, and I don't think they're going to just stack Redfall on top of Starfield right at the beginning of the year. So I'm not taking that bet, dog. Just walk away, buy that collector's edition, keep some money in your pocket, and that's me. That's where I'm at.
COG, you feeling the same, Reed?
I'm with Miles, bro. Like, trust no one, trust no date, bro. And yeah, like, because that statement kind of was open ended. We'll see you both of them next year, first half, so to speak. I forgot what the exact verbiage was, but yeah, man, Sean, you the homie, but don't do it. Don't do it, bro. You can't play with that March, April, and I think Redfall might come out first too. So Starfield would, in my mind, feels like it needs the most time. So I would be surprised if Starfield came ahead of what you call it. Miles got great logic as far as stacking. I think you got to space him too.
I'd be a little gun shy, Sean. I'd say walk away from this bet, call it a day, deny the double or nothing. It's just you can't trust anyone in these streets here.
Just take the L, move on. You know what I'm saying? You know, we live and we learn. We all learn. Last week.
Man, that Lockmore edit. That's,
they're killing us right now.
Yeah, a work of art right there. I'm just like, the difference. I'll save my thoughts on the Starfield. I could go on, but that Lockmore edit is fucking gold. My man went into the Mr. Maddie archives. He found like prepubescent Maddie.
Bro,
couldn't believe it. I was like, this video exists. Yeah, right. I was like, who is that man? That boy.
Classic young ginger energy. Yeah. I was like,
yeah. As you can tell, I'm very self-conscious about my hair. The fact that I had to address that. So bad, man.
I love it.
All right, let's talk about what games we are playing this week. Miles, you're our guest. I'd love to learn more about what you're playing. It's a pretty recent release.
Yeah, so I've been all in on Evil Dead the game, baby. When this game was revealed, I was one of the few people I think vocally incredibly excited about it. And mostly that was because I never imagined a world ever where we would have a Evil Dead asymmetrical horror multiplayer in the year of our Lord 2022. So the sheer fact that this exists at all, that was blowing my mind. I'm a huge Evil Dead fan. I've seen all the movies, watched the show, love that universe, love that universe. And that being said, when they showed that first trailer, I remember saying, no, this game is not going to look this good. Like, this game legit looks way too good to be true. I want to believe it. I want it to be true so bad, more than anything. But I was skeptical deep down. And then I played the beta. And then I was like, oh, damn, it does look this good. So I played on Series X. I played on PC for a beta and then a preview with the devs. And This game, visually, legitimately, even though it's a cross-gen title on Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, it is one of the best-looking games that I have played on my Series X. The amount of detail, the reflections, there's weather effects, so when it's raining and you're a knight in armor, you can see the gloss. There are reflections on the dude's armor. Like, the amount of detail that they put into this is mind-blowing. The game it stands toe-to-toe with any huge-budget AAA game. It looks better than most AAA games, honestly. Then, as a fan of asymmetrical horror multiplayer games like Dead by Daylight, Friday the 13th, there's always the jank. I'm always, Friday the 13th, love that game, despite how ugly and janky and terrible it was at launch. The launch for that game was so rough, but so fun. This game came out of the gate strong, tight, polished. There's a few weird bugs here and there where you get stuck on a crate, but the overall gameplay of that feels so much better than Friday the 13th. Like, it's a game that empowers you as the player. So the moment-to-moment gameplay, like Dead by Daylight, love the world, love the atmosphere, but dog, just holding left bumper occasionally and fixing generators for 30 minutes at a time, it gets a little tiring. So it's nice to have a game come out in that space that feels good every second. Like, if you love, it's going to sound weird, but if you love MOBAs like League of Legends or Smite and Fortnite, like, it kind of takes those two worlds and blends them together. So you have a sprawling map, you have a loot system, you have character classes. Each character class has a unique skill tree. There's upgrade items that you use in a match to level up stats within a match, like a MOBA. So there's so many systems and elements to this, and it's so deep, so good, and it hit. This game came out and hit, and that just blows my mind. I have, I think, 27 hours in it in the last couple of days. So I've just been really sinking my teeth into it. And if you got a squad of friends, it's good. It's really damn good.
Wow. You're really selling me on it, because my friend Jimmy Champagne, like a big horror guy as well, and he's been loving it. It looks like a lot of fun. I'm very stunned. Like, it's just a game that, I shouldn't be surprised it was developed by Saber Interactive, and they're very good. But it's just one that, I don't know, with the IP, you're like, how does this really work? And they found a way.
Yeah. Again, I'm a huge Evil Dead fan, but I knew deep down this could be a massive train wreck. Like, I love, again, like you mentioned, Saber, quality track record. They put care into what they do. But this team really went all in. If you're a fan of Evil Dead, this game was made for you from the ground up. The amount of Easter eggs that are in it are just absolutely stupid. They got most of the original voice actors in there. Nice. But even if you've never played, the more important thing is you can just go in, you can execute deadites with friends, you can disembowel people, you can throw heads with a pickaxe, you can shovel people's heads off. Like, the gameplay, more than anything, is just really damn fun. And that makes it so I'm playing with buddies who've never seen an Evil Dead movie, haven't seen a second of Evil Dead, but can jump in and have fun with it. And that, to me, is huge, because I'm just always trying to sell people on Evil Dead.
So he's selling it. He's selling it, man. That's what's up.
All right, Cog. Well, sell us on this next game you've been playing, Blade in Hand, Trek to Yomi.
Yeah, man. This is the one I've been waiting on. And I was one of those ones, when we saw that PAX and Eric was playing, it's I didn't get a real good vibe, obviously, in the convention center. I just know aesthetically it looked good. It's definitely something I want to play. Traditional samurai, the ninjas about that. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, let's get to it. So now that I got it home, I'm like, all right, beautiful Game Pass game to launch up. Let's just start. The first thing that surprised me is, like, the atmosphere is a character in this game. Like, the whole vibe and motif of traditional old school samurai films, they've got it down to a science. The thing that surprised me, let me get the negative out the way. The only thing I don't like, the combat is a little annoying on one aspect because of the facing one direction, press A, face another direction kind of a deal, because enemies will come at you from both sides. And the counter to that is they have like this parry system, which at times is a little weird. For some reason, I've mastered it. I don't know how. Usually I'm not good at parrying like that. But it's once you learn it, it becomes a dance. And it's just like clang, clang, parry, block, long strike. Then you do combos, break guards. There's different enemy types. But the thing that really impressed me about this game with Trek to Yomi is the story. I didn't see that coming. The story is amazing. It is well written.
Really? Wow.
Amazing. The story. That's what threw me. I'm thinking traditional samurai trope. You killed my master, whatever, right? Traditional. I'm like, what really deep they gonna go with? Oh no, Trek to Yomi I had to shout them out. I had to get a whole dev team a shout. Like, not only story fire, but without spoiling, there was for my OGs that, cock's old. There was one samurai game way back in the day. It was called Kenseiden, right? And I ain't gonna lie to you, this game used to terrify me as a kid because I didn't realize, like, I was scared of, like, that was the first time I ever seen, like, Japanese horror and just what they consider horror. And I was like, what is this? These wild demons and what the hell? And I'm not spoiling, but there's a very spiritual side to this game. And it does that. There's not like a jump scare. It's like, like Silent Hill, people like it because the atmosphere scares you as opposed to that's Trek to I'm like, yo, what is going on? Oh, bro, this game. Like, whoever the cinematography, the angles, and as you go further and further, and again, without spoiling, there's some deep choices and stuff you're going to have to do. And when I got to that ending, man, it, you know what I loved about it, Maddie? It didn't wear out its welcome. I know how I have issues with the 100-hour games and everything has got to be 35. This was that perfect, like 8 to 10 sweet spot. And they hit every note. And it got replay value if you really care about certain things. You can replay it again for other reasons, and it's really good. Yeah, Trek to Yomi, salute to the team. Only nitpick I would say was combat could be a little bit more fluid. Highly recommend. And a Game Pass get over on that, y'all. Telling y'all, Trek to Yomi is the wave. Do that. The other thing for me, I was playing this little VR game. I ain't gonna front. It's called Little Cities. And I forgot how much I liked Sim City when it first came out. I was such a Sim City fanboy. And like, this is the perfect game, a city builder, for guys that don't like over complication with menus, and like, it holds your hand, but it's so cool in VR to make my little city commercial district, residential district. I'm building a little coastal town. Like, it's a fun game, man. If you got VR, of course, I'm on the home team, so I'm going to say a little VR.
Yeah. Get your sales pitch in.
Get my little pitch on. Come on, cut the check. But now, if you like those type of games and you do have VR, it's all, like I said, it's on the Quest. Check it out on Little Cities. If you're a SimCity fan, go for it.
Right on. Nice picks, gents. Me, I still haven't played a current game in God knows how long. I'm playing old stuff still. It's because to me, nothing's real. You kind of got me wanting to try Trek to Yomi, especially with the on Game Pass. Because I was expecting exactly what you were defining, right? I was thinking about like the samurai story. I'm like, okay, I kind of got that with Ghost of Tsushima. I really like that. I don't need that again. But hearing that there might be this kind of, maybe I'll say supernatural twist to it has me very interested. And no, it's like bite size. I'm gonna probably take the dive on that. You might hear me talk about a current game next week. Cool. For now, though, I've been grinding my Steam Deck, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's been a great little companion of mine, and I've stuck a landing here. I've been playing Rogue Legacy 2. I talked about that last week, and while I'm playing that, what I've really been focusing on now, I've just been on this JRPG. Like, a Kick would be doing it a disservice, man. I've been all over. Yeah, I've been all over JRPGs lately. I've just been loving them. And it's fueled to the point where I made a video today talking about how just Xbox needs to address their blatant JRPG issue. Miles, I know you and I see eye to eye on that one through and through. We're really, all of us, leading the charge on how badly we need to get these JRPGs on Xbox. One of them being the Trails series. So I've been playing The Legends of Heroes Trails in the Sky the Third on my Steam Deck. And I don't want to talk about the story really, because for those of you who are Trails fans, I know there aren't many of you. This is a series that's so story heavy that me saying certain things will spoil pretty significant moments in the first and second Sky games. What I will say is I'm consistently pleased with this franchise's writing. If you're looking for thoughtful character development that doesn't really touch graphic novel levels, but it will have you sitting through a lot of text and seeing these characters interact and organically building them while having one of the best goddamn turn-based systems that you can get in JRPGs. This is the series, man. I mean, what I've liked about Trails of the Sky the Third, for those who have played Trails, is you'll know there's a lot of dialogue. And so this is the first game in all of the Trails games I've played that actually says, we'll let the combat do some of the talking. We'll let that flex its muscles, because it's so many people, myself included, always talk about the story, the characters, the crazy developments that are there. Like, it is some peak fiction. However, it's so often forgotten that this is a really fun, tense turn-based game. And so I've been playing that. I'm 15 hours in, really, really liking it. I liked the first 2 Sky games, but one of my biggest complaints with any Falcom JRPG, the developers Falcom, is very slow starts, very like
mad exposition. 4 scores and 7 years ago.
Your feet have cinder blocks, just really dragging through a lot of exposition. And then you finally get to the payoff moments, and you're like, "This is what I'm here for." This game just fucking does away with that. I'm like, "Thank you, just get going." So I've been having a lot of fun with that. And then last night I made a questionable decision for many. I was thinking about a new game to play. I'm playing a JRPG, so I'm like, let's play another one.
Another one? Jesus. This guy here, man.
I blame Retro Rebound. A lot of people there love JRPGs. I love JRPGs, so I feel like I've just been unleashed on what is definitely my favorite genre currently. So I fired up Final Fantasy 13 because I'm a staunch defender of the 13 trilogy. A lot of people slander its good name, and it's flawed. It's flawed, yeah. So I think the criticism is reasonable. But as someone who's a staunch defender, sometimes you got to check yourself and be like, let me get back into it. Let me just see, like, what did I like about this so much? And it hit me right away. I was like, this game is so obviously flawed. I wouldn't say it's got like Sonic 06 energy where it's like, oh, this is just a charming bad game. Because I think 13 is a good game. But, the visuals, they're beautiful. This is the best looking old game you can play on backwards compatibility. Like, there is no exaggeration there. Final Fantasy 13 is colorful. It's artistically driven. It's incredible to look at. And I checked the back of the box thinking like, oh yeah, this is like 2013, 2009. I'm like, holy smokes, man. Wow. Really, really impressive visuals, even more so today. I can only imagine, like, I remember when I played it back then, I was blown away, but what the actual conversation online was about that game. So I've just been having a lot of fun with that, reconnected with the combat system. I love the paradigm shift system. A lot of people don't like it, but the ability to set up like a list of tactics for your whole team. And whilst your opponent's switching tactics on their own, you're shifting the paradigm to like, oh, I need more defense, so I'm going to use Serenity. And like, oh, now we're going to go commando because we got to go all out on offense. And you build up like a stagger gauge. You blow the stagger gauge. You can go all out on offense again and like do mega damage. So I've just been having a lot of fun with these JRPGs, man. And at first I was like dabbling in it, just like, oh, okay, I'm going to refresh a Retro Rebound. I'm like 5 hours into it. I played it 5 hours last night and I went, let me check how long to beat. Can I do this?
He's in.
Yeah, I think I'm in. Yeah, I think I'm in. Yeah. So
no doubt.
Back on my JRPG groove. Been enjoying that. And looking forward to maybe starting some Trek to Yomi. I was going to originally do Tunic. That was the next new game I was going to do. But
get over to that Yomi.
But I think Yomi looks more my speed. I was looking into Tunic, and Tunic looks great, but looks very Zelda inspired. I'm not a big fan of the older type of Zelda games.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's controversial. That's a controversial.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying it's bad.
You better be careful with that.
People are wild out on these streets, man. Yeah. Careful how you word
Deathloop, Zelda, what's next?
I'm trying to protect you from last week, and now here you go again.
Hey, what did everyone get on me for last week? I didn't see.
They were mad with the Starfield shirts. They were mad.
Oh, wow.
You know, that's why I rocked by solidarity. We're a team. That's how we do.
All right, let's get into our warm-up questions. Normally we just call them warm-ups, but this is really the main subject of our conversation. So let's start off with Edward Walton. Hello, Dukes. Longtime supporter, first time writing in. My question concerns the slate of releases for the rest of 2022. With the delay of Microsoft's first party into 2023, what do you guys think can be done in order to bolster Xbox moving through the next 6 months? Do you see any big third-party gets coming to Xbox Game Pass day one? Hope you guys have a M. Bison just showed up, and it was the most important day of your life, but to him, it was only Tuesday kind of day. All right, Miles, I want to dish it to you. Obviously, it's a concerning time for fans. The fan base is rattled, shaken up to their core. You're Xbox, you're sitting in the room with Phil. What's your game plan for the next 6 months to let them know, yes, it's not Starfield, yes, it's not Redfall, but it's all okay because we have
Those are the conversations that we've seen online a lot, is what is Xbox going to do for me? We got Forza Horizon 5, we got Halo Infinite, we got a bunch of other stuff last fall, but what have they done for me recently? All right. That's the heated conversation right now. Mm-hmm. And so I can't imagine that there is nothing on the back burner in terms of maybe not necessarily first party, but partnership titles. We saw Arma Shadow drop today, which was kind of the Arma Reforger, which was an Xbox exclusive. I imagine there'll be a few more of those kind of sprinkled throughout the year. But I'm hoping they can get some energy, as we're seeing with PlayStation, when it comes to leaning into third-party partnerships, because that's really what they're going to have to do. And as sad as it makes me to say, there's not going to be anything Xbox first-party wise that's going to fill the Starfield gap. Like that, that is a black hole to fill, and there's no first-party game that's big enough to do that. So unfortunately, that is just the reality of Xbox right now. But third party is important. We focus a lot on exclusives, but some of the biggest games every single year are the third party games. And like we touched on earlier, if you can sell your audience on that being a platform driver for you, that is exciting. And that can still give momentum to Xbox. And if they can lean into Game Pass, which that's the real thing I'm questioning right now, is we had the announcement of the Starfield and Redfall delay. And then the following Tuesday, a lot of people were looking at the Game Pass lineup and saying, I'm not happy with this Game Pass lineup. Personally, Sniper Elite looks dope. I'm excited about that.
Yes.
But generally speaking, there was a lot of negativity surrounding the Game Pass lineup. And I was like, oh, that's weird to see. So if you're canceling, or not, I shouldn't say canceling, calm down. If you're delaying two really big games and you're not giving people, Game Pass games that they feel are going to fill those gaps, you got to fill the gaps somehow. If Avatar, Hogwarts Legacy, all these other titles are locked down, Deathloop now maybe even locked down with PlayStation marketing, chances of them coming to Game Pass become slim. Mm-hmm. For me, the one that nobody's really talking about, and maybe it's just it wouldn't do enough, I think Saints Row. I think when we're looking at like the realistic targets for big third-party games, there was some really glowing previews earlier today for this game that people were like, I didn't love the reveal, but after seeing the gameplay, it reminds me that Saints Row is fun. Saints Row is weird. And that's what I've always loved about Saints Row, is it takes the Grand Theft Auto formula and just cranks it to 11. And so I would love to see that with the co-op launch in Xbox Game Pass. And for me, that's my one. If I'm Xbox, I'm making those calls to try to lock that down in the scope of everything else that's kind of already tied up with Sony.
Interesting. Cog, what's your game plan? You're in the room with Phil, Dominus, Maximus Aurelius, Spencer, and you're going, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get...
It's not just a singular thing for me.
Oh.
We feel like we got to do a lot.
You're hungry. We got to do a lot.
We got to do a lot. We got to do a lot. Miles said it beautifully. There's no singular title that's going to replace the impact that Starfield, the whole that's left. So, again, like what Miles said, I agree completely where Game Pass has to be the driver, because you've lost two major titles that should have been able to keep people and get new subscribers into the service. So it's imperative on you to make these deals. So I think what they're going to have to do, either from the third party standpoint, which is going to be tough because PlayStation has a lot of the marketing tied into a couple of the biggest games. Like in a perfect scenario, I'm like, man, you get Hogwarts, you know what I mean? You get yourself attached to, you figure, Deathloop or whatever. And it's just like that, the fact that those, and you can't do, even though you require that, you can't do the Call of Duty either because you don't got this. So they're in a tough spot. Next year, all that clears up. But for right now, they're in there. So I think it's going to be those kind of second level titles, or, that you can lead into the Game Pass. Or what you could do is with global publishing, do some deals there, as well as I think the third party deals, the third party games from like the showcase. I would kind of touch base with those games. Like, hey, whatever happened to? I remember like Xbox, and there was like Scorn. There was a bunch of them at that original third party. Like, what's the status of release? And see if you can get a couple of those. So maybe you don't have the big AAA games, but if you have indies, AA, and then the Game Pass marketing with some of these deals that come out, some of these games that come out around the holiday, you can kind of like hold the fort. I still feel, and I know I'm getting clipped online for saying this, I still feel you have to, one, associate yourself with like like how they did with the EA Play deal with the Ubisoft. Hopefully you get like a Ubisoft Plus to bolster the service. You got to give people a reason to stay in. Right now, they're frustrated. They're like, yo, I don't see the value, right? You can make a legitimate thing for the future for 2022. What is there in Game Pass that's going to make me stay? So they got to do that. And I still stand on, if you can do a smaller studio acquisition, you do it. It doesn't mean that, just because you make an acquisition, people don't want games, but you do have to show, again, I feel, reinforce the commitment that we are not going away. We are still invested in Game Pass. We are still invested in feeding the beast that is Game Pass, and studios provide that. So I'm all going to stay on that one. It's going to be tough. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. That's why I'm so curious to see what's going to happen, because they're in a weird spot. I want to see how creative they could get.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of smaller answers they have throughout the year. Somerville, Slime Rancher 2, or a couple that are forgotten about. Atomic Heart, I think that'll probably be 2023. There's the Plague Tale, A Plague Tale Requiem. That's another day one Game Pass game. So they do have some answers established from last year. I think the problem they may actually end up encountering is if those all get re-revealed at this showcase with like release dates, and they're like, yeah, this is day one, is you might provide that feeling of like, I've seen this before.
Right.
And some of the surprise, the shock and awe, save for things like Starfield, Redfall, is going to hit a little less harder because they're further away now. It's not like you're going to see and go like, I'm getting this soon. So yeah, for me, I stand on my pedestal and say Gotham Knights. That is the one. That's the one I've been really, co-op, DC. You're missing the pop culture touch. Invest big in something that matters, right? I don't know if it'll end up being a good game. We don't know about any of these games when they do day one Game Pass deals, if they will be good. I just feel like this is your chance to test the waters. See how much the Xbox fandom cares about the pop culture stuff. I'm also going to throw out one there that I don't think anyone's talking about at all because we haven't seen any gameplay about it. Sonic Frontiers. I feel like this is one that if you can sneak, which I don't think Sega would be willing to do, by the way, but if this is one you can sneak, I'm going to say go for it. Sonic is bigger than it's ever been before. May not be super relevant to some of us out there. I know I've been playing some of the old games lately for Retro Rebound, so it's a little more relevant to me. So it's a little more on my mind. But this is a series that is driving numbers. It released a remaster, and it was just Sonic Colors, by the way. Sonic Colors Ultimate in the heat of the fall, and the overall Sonic franchise saw like a 35% growth year over year on sales. And it sold like 5+, like the whole franchise sold 5+ million copies. The movies are doing amazing. I do feel like if you're Xbox and you're looking for a big pop, Sonic gets slandered a lot. I get it. As someone who hated Sonic, I get it. But this might be one you take a look at. I really think if you can convince Sega with that buttered up relationship you got, bring that bad boy day one, you go for it. I don't think because Sega knows this thing will sell. I don't think they'll do it. But if they are game at all, you push 100%.
Yeah. Especially as a Persona would be nice. We've been waiting.
Yes.
That would be the time to finalize that if you could.
Let's talk about all those JRPG gaps they have to fill. If we can get another like one of those Final Fantasy showcases where it's like, here's all these franchises that you love, Persona, all the Mana games. Like, if they could just do a big blowout like that, for me, I'm set. I'm good. Rest of the year.
Oh, yeah, you good. Miles is good. Yep.
I'm already in that zone. So if they just keep pushing me down that road.
Another thing that's interesting to think about is we don't really know what Blizzard's slate looks like in terms of the fall.
Yeah, I've been on that too, Miles. Go ahead, talk that.
Nothing's official. The deal obviously hasn't closed yet. But there's nothing to say that Xbox wasn't selling these teams on the vision of Game Pass previously. And let's say there's a world where a Diablo 4 has a surprise.
That's the one I've been seeing, bro.
Has a surprise fall release date and says, boom, day one Game Pass. Like, I think that not as big as Starfield, but you get Diablo 4 day one in Game Pass this fall. That's a big one. That is a big game.
Love it. I've been on that, Miles. It fits the model, right? 4-player cooperative.
Yeah.
That's a highly anticipated game. Like, again, is it Starfield level? But it fits what they're trying to do. And you have that Game Pass association. You got that. I'm with you on that, man. I hope. To me, it's just all about if it's ready, right? If it's ready, man, you do that thing.
So I'm expecting to see Diablo 4 officially revealed in some. I mean, it's been officially revealed, but I'm expecting to see it this year, and I would love to see it at an Xbox showcase. But
Miles gotta be hyped. That's what
it was at the Xbox showcase last year. It was one of the 2 games that didn't have day 1 Game Pass on its trailer. So you have to assume
correct your
Pay
wrongs,
yourself.
right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Back the truck up and pay yourself.
It's coming right back into your house, right? It's money never lost.
You don't get it back anyway. You just play it up front. That's all.
All right, let's move on to number 2. We certainly have a lot more to say on this subject, but we got to tackle another angle. Bison Blitz writes in with a very simple, why is Microsoft so incompetent at studio management compared to Sony? Do we agree with this take, gentlemen? Miles, I'd love to start off with you again, friend.
Yeah, incompetent, I feel that's aggressive. That's a bit spicy. That's a bit a little baity. I feel like of a question there. The situation is unfortunately a lot more complicated and a lot more boring than a lot of us want to think about it. We want the simple answers. We want to blame someone. We want to look at Phil Spencer and say, "You have failed me. You, Phil Spencer, you are the reason that Starfield is not coming on this date. How dare you?" And we want those clean, easy, simple answers. And it's never that. It never is. And when you talk to people behind the scenes about everything that's going on, it's just you start to see the bigger picture of what this all means for Xbox, for the games industry. So yeah, you can be upset with Xbox. You can be frustrated. I think that's fair. Clearly, their schedule this year is way lighter than anyone wants it to be, especially if you're someone who primarily plays on Xbox. But Xbox is going through a transition right now in a lot of ways. They're going through a transition with building up Xbox Game Studios. They're going through a transition of, this new dual console approach, xCloud. But more importantly, they're going through this transition of reevaluating how to make AAA video games. For a while, the standard was, and we've heard horror stories of people sleeping at their office, is you got that done. We put a date out there and we don't care what it takes. You are hitting that date. I don't care what it costs you as the individual. We have told the world this is the date and you are hitting that date, and people just had to figure it out. And Microsoft is trying to be this pillar for what it can be in terms of the work culture and how you treat your employees. And some of that comes with the hard realities of balancing the marketing aspects. Obviously, having the date for Starfield, big sexy number, anniversary of Skyrim, let's go, baby. That's exciting. And you want to feed into that and you want to be able to deliver on that, because you can't just, as much as people say, well, why do they have no dates? Like, we shouldn't have dates then. Don't announce a date. Like, there's this ugly back and forth between the marketing and the reality of game development. And Microsoft is figuring out how to balance that. And you can say they haven't done the best job, and I think maybe that's fair. We heard Phil Spencer come out and say, we're delivering a game per quarter, and then the following year they had their lightest year ever. It's like messages like that where it's like, okay, why did you say this now? Like, why? I get that, maybe that is a long-term goal, but when you tell your audience that and you don't do that, they're going to get mad. And so that's why all these frustrations and all these seemingly little things, like the Starfield delay, isolated, probably not a big deal, but you compound that with everything. And that's when you get people talking about the incompetence and why Microsoft can't deliver games and all this stuff. So yeah, I'm just going to say, I think incompetence is a little aggressive, a little, it's too simplistic for the situation. And the reality is Microsoft is just trying to figure out what their sustainable future looks like.
Yeah. It's, in a lot of ways, I always have felt that this delay probably wouldn't have happened if Microsoft wasn't owning Bethesda. And you got to be honest with yourself, they probably had to make a really tough choice here, not even just because of the holiday window they'll be missing, but they got to behave, because when you think about, they're not done shopping after Activision Blizzard. They were hiring an acquisition manager for more mergers and acquisitions. So if you're like out here crunching down Bethesda, get it out this holiday, come on, we need that. I'm sorry, but word spreads fast, and it's not a good look. We've already seen what's happened with Undead Labs. We've already seen what's happened with the Initiative, how quickly word can spread that like some incompetence may be seeping in there with poor management. And so you want to make sure you give your A teams like Bethesda Game Studios, who's absolutely going to be a big driver for your platform, the time they need. And I just don't see after 76 that would have happened underneath old Bethesda leadership. So in a way, I see how people say incompetence, but I feel like that was the competent decision to bite the bullet. I think the incompetence, if you will, comes in with a lack of preparation. And I really haven't shot all my rounds at Xbox yet because I feel like it's dire now, but I'll be much more certain of that feeling once I see the showcase and what they're actually bringing. Because right now, I'm sure if they could give us all the answers, they would have already, but they need to wait for the showcase. It's a very awkward timing. I'll crank on them all day for the way they marketed the showcase, the way that they had the Into the Starfield docs, just the sequence of events and the timing of the announcement of the showcase with not much details on like how long it'll be, just when it's happening. And clearly you're like, they're geared up for Starfield. Like, this is it. Only to delay it afterwards. It just feels like there was no communication between multiple teams, which I think does tail off of what Miles was saying, that they're trying to figure things out here. This is clearly a bigger challenge as they're inhaling all these studios and trying to manage their current ones than I think we've given it credit for. It's not an excuse. I do think there is some poor management on their front, but I don't want to call it the end of the world because I think competence is delivering good games when they're ready. But there is a timeliness to it all. So, Cog, how do you feel? Is Xbox incompetent?
It's the spicy talk right now. That's what everyone's saying. Their streets are raging. Look, man, you know, I'm taking a step back and I had to look at things objectively because I'm hurt. I'm upset. Starfield was my most highly anticipated game and it hit me personally. You know what I'm saying? So once I took the emotionality out, I took a step back and I said, look, it was the right call. And I had to be careful of not being a prisoner of the moment. And the reason why I said it is prior to this delay, right, of these games, we just came off last year where Microsoft was considered publisher of the year based on what they released as far as the output is concerned, right? So I'm with Miles on one sense that, yeah, they're still figuring this out. Where I'm with you, Maddie, though, is that clearly the way this was handled, especially with Starfield, with the marketing, there's definitely a communication gap where one side didn't know what the other side was doing. That we could easily deduce because of the fact that they, based on the marketing rollout and even the marketing with the actual showcase with Starfield, you know, imagery with the Xbox, they were under the impression this game's going to be ready and they're ready to go. So if you go there and then you find out, okay, because I don't have this for, you know, information documented. I'm not saying I know anything behind the scene, but to me, it feels like that they got this information last minute, at the very end, last minute, and they had to make a tough call. Do we make it come out or do we give Bethesda the time they need? And from what we do know, Bethesda has been known to still operate independently, right? As they've been prior, right? It's just that they've got the funding, they've got the backing of Microsoft. So I'm with Miles. I still think they're figuring this thing out. You know, but here's the problem. The problem is they're not going to be afforded any type of missteps like this because the fan base has waited. The fan base has been patient. I was there in 2018 when I was like, man, I wasn't sure if they cared about being invested long-term in video games. They didn't have their first party right. And I remember it like it was yesterday. Phil comes on stage. You start to see Compulsion Games, you see Undead Lab, you see all the studios get announced. Ninja Theory, then eventually it's Obsidian. You're like, oh my God, they're in. They're all in. And that gave the base. So for people who are so enraged and upset, I just tell people, look, the difference between, I know my joke is Xbox One energy. I said it because that's what it felt like. It took us back there when this announcement hit. But the reality is, the difference is, and I've said this to multiple people, is if there was nothing on the horizon, there was no future planning, we see the scope. What they got to do is clean up, like Maddie said. Stop announcing things incorrectly. If you're not sure, don't show it or don't put a date. The problem with Starfield specifically is when you put 11/11, you know, and you don't hit, you're going to get it. And then you don't have no first party, you're going to get it. So look, I've calmed down. They've got work to do. I don't think it's complete mismanagement. I don't have the full scope, but it's things they need to clean up as a publisher, having all these studios and knowing how to operate in this new era of Xbox, so to speak.
Yeah. I think if anything's... Oh, sorry, go on, Miles.
I was going to say, the weirdest thing about the Starfield release date to me is I thought they were giving themselves a huge buffer. When you announce a date a year and a half out, that tells me, like, I was under the assumption that that's polish. These guys are done. That's just plenty of polish. You can just slide into that release date. And then, like you said, 2 weeks ago. What was it? 2 weeks ago when we have all the pictures of Xbox and Bethesda like together. Yeah, let's go, squad. And then like a few days later, oof, Starfield's getting delayed. So did Phil see the game? Did the team see the game? Be like, we can't ship this because let's be real. Xbox gets zero wiggle room with quality anymore because they have sold us. They have sold the video game industry on the idea that if you join Xbox Game Studios, your games will be better than they have ever been. You will have the resources, the tools, and the ability to make the best, most polished games that you have ever made. And so if they say that, they buy Bethesda, they have Activision on the table, and then they put out Starfield, and it is Fallout 76 level in terms of bugs, that they would never hear the end of it, ever. Never. So I think they just had to have that hard conversation with Bethesda and say, we're not doing it. We're not going to do that to you. We're not going to do that to ourselves. We're delaying this game and take whatever time you need at this point. But
yeah, especially when at the end of 2021, Todd Howard had said that Starfield was playable from start to finish. I don't blame Xbox fans for having the firm expectation. Like you announced the date that far out. You're told in the winter time, 1 year from the release of the game, by the way, almost to a T, that like, hey, it's playable start to finish. So you're like, okay, y'all are definitely like polishing, decorating the levels. Like you're in that phase of the development where like you're pretty much wrapping things up. To get a significant delay from that, if there's anything that was incompetent to me, it was some people's like reporting on the situation where they were like, well, this wasn't a surprise. Of course it got delayed. I'm like, you clearly weren't paying attention to Bethesda Game Studios. Again, first delay since Oblivion. That was 2006. Outside of that, that's never happened. It's incredibly rare that they delay a game. And some folks are like, well, we didn't see gameplay. 2 releases in a row, we haven't seen gameplay until 6 months out from its launch. So again, if you were sitting there going, well, yeah, I was going to get delayed, but we didn't see it, you were highlighting your own incompetence. Like to me, that was the incompetence of the situation. Just not knowing anything about the situation, reporting on it, and completely changing the conversation. I think it hurt this delay even further because people were like, well, yeah, of course it was happening. No, that was not happening.
Everybody's in the building now. Everyone knows what's going on. Everyone knows exactly what's happening behind the scenes. Everyone.
Yeah, you had people like my buddy Jez Corden who were like, yeah, this is happening. Like so many people were set on the idea that this was coming on this date and they didn't feel there was a world where it wasn't. And when you, again, it's dangerous in this day and age to get attached to a date. I remember even the 1 month delay of Elden Ring, I was like, no, no, God, it hurt. So I know, but also, like we touched on, why would you announce the date that far out unless you were 100% sure?
Sure, yeah. And last point I'll say, I know we're going along with this, but I have no inside information again, but I firmly believe it was last minute, and I feel Phil is falling on the sword for Bethesda on this. That's just me, because at the end of the day, it's
like, you blame Phil anyway. On the side note,
they're coming for his head. They're coming for his head.
That's so like, fucking ridiculous.
Bro.
They're calling for his resignation and wild.
This is the worst I've seen on Twitter. Phil Spencer was trending for like 4 days straight on Twitter. And I'm like, man, you know what I'm saying? People are like, I don't get it.
How dare he make the platform relevant? Fuck him.
Yeah, like, why is he afforded this? He needs to be out. I'm like, yo, like, but again, sadly, that's what comes with the territory. When you top dog, you're going to have to, take the fall for it. But
sure,
we'll see how they do. But that's just where I'm at with it. That's my theory.
Here's one way they could answer things. Jacob Hansen writes in, hey, Mr. Macaroni and Lord Sporknito, first time writing in. And first of all, I want to thank you all for a great show. Since my awesome daughter arrived last year, there hasn't been much time to play games, so I get most of my gaming fixed through you guys. Thank you, Jacob. What are the chances of getting small spin-offs from the Elder Scrolls in the Fallout universe? They are such massive franchises, and it just seems insane to me that there won't be another installment for so long. Can Microsoft and Bethesda Game Studios afford to let franchises sit on the shelf for that long? Imagine a Thieves Guild or Dark Brotherhood game from Arcane set in the Imperial City, or a Brotherhood of Steel shooter from the Coalition. There's so many possibilities, and as much as I love God Howard and BGS, maybe they should let some other studios have a stab at their IP. I know there are rumors of a New Vegas 2, but I am thinking of smaller games with shorter development times. Greetings from Denmark, and have a Xbox announces a Gears of War live service game instead of showing Starfield gameplay at the summer showcase kind of day. I feel like this is, selfishly, one answer that I'd be quite okay with. They're like, look, sorry about Starfield, but here's your Fallout 3 New Vegas remaster y'all have been asking for. Here it is.
Okay.
I would get out of my seat and be like, okay, I'll go apologize for my rash behavior. No, but what do you guys think about this? Do you think this is something they should do? Because I feel, of course, this has to be something you eventually tackle, because situations like this, right? You push back Starfield. I mentioned to people, like, now you're moving back Elder Scrolls 6 as well. That has now been delayed too. And anything else in between. And that pushes back Fallout 5, which they have the one pager for. Yeah, whenever we see that one, I'm dying inside now. But yeah, I just can't help but look at this situation for their current IP and wonder what the plan is. Of course, Elder Scrolls 6 is standing out there. We'll eventually get it eventually. But for the spin-offs, do you do this, Miles? Do you take these IP from Bethesda Game Studios in a sense and say, like, okay, we're going to start handing these out, seeing who's interested in working on them?
I think it's a really interesting idea. I think remasters, first and foremost, are more likely. I think we'll see some of those to fill the gaps. But I would really love some experimentation with these IP, these established IP, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, for example. Give me something that's not what I would expect. And beyond that, anything with Xbox Game Studios. Like I've been saying for years, why don't we have a Halo survival horror game? Like, come on, like get weird with it.
Doom.
Like, even if it isn't like a first party in-house studio, you have a publishing division now. You own the IP. Find the right team, a team who would be excited, thrilled to touch that IP with a spinoff, and let them do something different. Because again, we have people like Double Fine, and people are like, why doesn't Double Fine make Banjo? And Tim, the legend, says, I'm not going to make Banjo. There's another team called Rare to do that. But so it's all about finding the right teams to do it. And Xbox right now, they don't want to force anyone to say, hey, do this spinoff because we need to fill some gaps. But if they could reach out, put their feelers out and say, anybody out in the world want to do a Fallout, third person shooter? I don't know. But experiment. You have so many amazing IP, and people are, if we're going to wait for, like I said, Fallout 5, I joked and said 2040, but I don't even know if that's a joke at this point. Like if we're waiting for Elder Scrolls 6, Fallout 5, another 5-6 years beyond that, like we got to have something in between, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Cog, how are you feeling about the sitch?
Yeah, I like this idea by Jacob. I think the key is going to come down to Bethesda's possessive nature of these IPs and how they're willing to play, because they've been self-contained, right? I think there's stuff that just makes so much sense. I look at the New Vegas 2 situation, and I think the vibe I'm on is, we know a lot of stuff you're not going to be able to present this year at the show. But if you can do what I consider like games of wonder, right? Where you have, like Miles was talking about, while he's talking about Doom, I'm just like, man, what if you had like a Master Chief Doom spinoff type of situation where you just these unheard of combinations that the pure gamer goes, yo, that would be so fire to put these two together. And then y'all know I'm Team Obsidian. That's my number one draft pick. We know the relationships with Bethesda back in the day. We know the relationships with NXile back in the day with Bethesda. There's so much potential for wonder that's all under this umbrella. So to Microsoft's thing, I don't think you got to go in there bullying the China shop. Yo, y'all doing this because all gaps. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But you could go, look, here's an idea. Bethesda, if you choose, and if you felt, you want someone to work on this, we got other teams that have some availability that would be interested, and we make the decision up to you if it makes sense. But I think Microsoft, they are keeping the lights on. They do have the right to at least pitch some suggestions, and then the final decision may come down creatively to Bethesda. But I would like it. I think there's so much potential here, and I would love cross collaboration. And I think if they did that, and to answer Jacob's question specifically, yes, spinoffs, yes, because the gaps is too long. Fallout 5, Elder Scroll, that's we're gonna be old and like I'm gonna be young. Maddie will be around. Like I can't wait. I ain't got time for for that level of waiting. Like that's insane. We may get Elder Scrolls at the end of the generation, and that's it. Like we're on to the next one. So yeah, let's do some spinoffs. Let's get creative. Let's get cool. Let's get weird. Let's get fun.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta find some answers, and I agree with Miles that I think first and foremost you got to do remasters. I think Oblivion Morrowind, Fallout 3, New Vegas. I get it with FPS boost, back and pat. Why do you do it? Do it. Find a way, because there needs to be a presence for the franchise outside of, in the case of Fallout, outside of 76, and Elder Scrolls outside of Elder Scrolls Online. They've both found their bases. They're both doing their own thing, but they're not really growing the franchise at all. You have something like the Fallout TV show, which is like multimedia pushing, but Fallout and Elder Scrolls multimedia push is very underwhelming. Like the books, comics, non-existent. So I'm keen to see what the show for Fallout does for the brand. If it does make a push to maybe have a game ready in that vicinity, because we've seen that happen with Halo. Again, I don't think you plan it perfectly like that with how many times the Halo TV show got pushed back. But I just think that you can't leave these IP hanging as long as they have with their established fan bases. So I think remasters first and foremost, and then you let teams creatively tackle with spin-offs afterwards. And suddenly you'll be flush with tons of Elder Scrolls and Fallout that I won't know what to do with myself. That'd be nice. That'd be a nice option to have.
No doubt.
All right. Let's talk to Caleb Johnson, who writes in, "Greetings, Dukes. With the constant outrage and vitriol from fanboys on social media, how does it affect you guys seeing your content weaponized? We all try to ignore the hate and disingenuous attacks out there, but I know as a fan, it sucks to see your content along with all of LSM and many others taken out of context. So I would imagine it affects you both in some way too. How do you internalize it and how do you respond to it, if at all? The reason many of us support you guys is because of your character and that you both try and offer based opinions with thoughtful insights. Thank you for giving us quality content. Have a very specific, I bought a Starfield shirt just to see it get delayed into the next year kind of day." I'm going to go change. I'll be right back.
This is good, man. Shout out to Caleb.
Yeah.
I appreciate this comment because this has been affecting me lately. Not that it's been affecting me, but I know it's been happening more to me lately. So, to me, first of all, I'm honored that people feel the need to clip me out of context and do all these fun and games.
You made it, dog.
That's what I'm popping. Like if you clipping me and if what I said burns your soul that you got to go make a video on Twitter and do all this stuff. Here's the thing, you know what I'm saying? Like me, I'm on a different mission. Like the Ninja's mission, I ain't got time to be on Twitter all day. And I told you about the 10 tweet rule. If I look at your last 10 tweets and all of them is console warring and clipping dudes and doing all that, salute to you. That's your energy. My energy is trying to build businesses, help people, and do positive things. That's just the type of time I'm on. But I will say this, for all the energy people are putting towards these type of things, bro, you could make a YouTube channel. You can monetize. We got Lockball. Lockball clipped us, and he getting paid.
Yeah.
So my thing is go be productive. And that's why I try to help my fellow gaming brothers and sisters. Like, I've helped a lot of people, and they've come to me like, because at the end of the day, it's not the way. You're not going anywhere with that. You know what I'm saying? That's just my thought process on it. But if you come to me, I can help you. I've helped people before, and they've made transformations from quote unquote crumb side or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And now they're writers at LogNet. Now they're video producers, you know what I'm saying? Now they've gotten a job in the industry. That's what I'm trying to promote. So all that other stuff, that's not going to stop my mission. All I would say, as far as I internalize it, I don't engage in it because a lot of it is clout chasing. They think that because if I do this to you, you go and respond. No, I'm not. I'm going to look at you, laugh, and go back to my business. So that's where I'm at with it. At the end of the day, salute. But we at least me, I'm on a different type of time and a different type of mission, and we inspiring and motivating out here. So that's the type of time I'm on.
Nice. Very well said. Miles, I know you're in particular very outspoken. I feel like I see you often saying we could be nicer to each other. And so I imagine you've had encounters of your own. Have you had your content misused at any point in time? Have you had any negative interactions on the internet? Do tell.
Yeah, it's interesting for me because, I've been on the outside of the video game industry for a while. Like I've been an enthusiast. I've been on Twitter talking to people about gaming. But in recent years, I've become, I guess, a figure of some kind to somebody out there, which in a lot of ways is awesome. Like the fact that anyone cares about what I say at all is still weird to me. It's mind-boggling because there's so many people out in the world talking about video games that are passionate about video games. And the fact that people look to me in that light is amazing. And it means a lot. Yep. But because of working at Windows Central, which is a platform-focused site, a lot of my content does get used one way or the other to either attack Xbox fans or to downplay PlayStation. So I see a lot of my reporting and a lot of my work weaponized, quite frankly, to downplay and make somebody else feel bad. And that's, as you touched on, that's not my energy. That's not the energy that I put out into the world. That's not the energy that I put out on social media. I'm trying to get better about, not directly adding to that noise, because I don't mind having the hard conversations. Like, I don't mind giving someone the benefit of the doubt and talking to them online if they want to talk about it, if they want to have a constructive conversation about it. But a lot of what it is what Cog's talking about, where they want that reaction. They want to rile you up. Like, I'm a human being. Like, you can say things and ultimately, like, it probably will bum me out sometimes. Like, that's just the reality. Like, as much as I want to ignore all of it, at a certain point, like, you just can't. We're human beings, and I'm just trying to do a better job of, separating myself from that and say, this isn't about me. This is about that individual and the problems with that individual. So I don't quote tweet. That is something I never do, because it is never constructive. Quote tweeting 0% of the time is constructive when you're trying to engage with someone. So that is something, as a hard rule, that I am not going to do unless it's the most egregious thing of all time and unrelated to gaming. Typically, I'll
like
joke
on a personal level.
I'll dunk on McDonald's or Burger King, something stupid, benign. But quote tweeting does not add to it. But it is interesting to see the kind of rise in my eyes of this algorithm feeding. A lot of it too is that people get a reaction one way or another, and that feeds the algorithm, and the algorithm says, I'm going to show you this. So more than ever, I open up Twitter and I'm mad because they've put something in I don't follow this person. I don't like what they do, but Twitter has put this person into my feed because they know they want to get me mad. And that's what it is. And I'm, again, trying to do a better job about taking a step back and saying, not today, Twitter. You don't win this one. All right.
No doubt. Maddie, how you dealing with it, man?
It's funny. Normally I don't really care. I've been a public light for literally half my life. So I'm very accustomed to it. Jumping into the Xbox fandom, though, it was an adjustment for sure. Like, once we announced Defining Duke and I started doing more Xbox coverage because the games I already covered were a part of that. You started to realize that the things that you say can be clipped and used online. And, it's interesting because I don't care, because I'm very thorough with my content creation. So what I say is what I mean. And I'll have those hard talks. And if you want to clip that and use it, whatever, it's what I said. But what really will always and forever get under my skin is when people will take our show, because the way the internet functions is not built for long form content anywhere except YouTube, where like Twitter, you can't have those nuanced conversations. You can only have them like in podcasts and videos, but no one has time to consume them. So they'll cut you, clip you, remove all context, and you'll end up looking foolish. And it's like, look, if I say something stupid, I own it, right? Like, I don't care. You can absolutely dunk on me if I've been a moron, which can be well deserved. You can set me on the right path. But what always will forever get under my skin is when someone, specifically when they do it to Cog, because it's like, look, I'm the loudmouth here, in my opinion. Like, I'm the one who pops off more often than Cog. And you're going to clip him, not me. You're going to try to make him look dumb, the more intelligent one of the two of us, in my opinion. Like, come on.
You smart, bro.
And so I just look at that type of stuff, and I get more pissed on behalf of, not on behalf of others, but for others than I do for myself, because I have control of what comes out of my mouth, and I can deal with it. I don't really internalize or anything. I'm just focused on doing my job. But when they take us and try to make us look stupid to fit an agenda, literally, I find that's like weirdo behavior, in my opinion. That's not even like console wars. Like, it's not even negative. I'm like, you're just fucking weird to me, man. Like, you really are gonna like take the conversation like Cog and I are having. You're gonna clip out his sentence here, my sentence there, and you're gonna craft this,
stitching it together. Nice.
You're gonna craft the dark side story of Lockboard effectively, right? Like, instead of him making it for jest, you're gonna craft something that's a totally different tale that tells a whole different story of what we were talking about on our show, just to sell people that our show is bad. And unfortunately, people are sheep. They'll follow it and they'll be like, it's bad. And everyone gets bad mouthed. And it's a weird feeling of like, I didn't even say that. Again, it goes back to my original point. If I say something stupid, I'm like, yeah, you're right. That was dumb. But when I don't say something stupid and you've removed the context to make it look dumb, and then people are like, what a moron. Then I'm like, fuck that. Like, come on. Now I want the smoke. Like, now I'll come for you. Yeah, now I'll call you out. I do it in different ways, though. I don't give them the attention. I don't quote tweet them. I don't call them by name because that's what they want more than anything, right? You just address the matter. Be like, this, like, for example, when it happened to us a couple weeks ago, I was like, this show is not to be used for your fanboy wars on either side. Like, that's not what it's about. And if you do it that way, you're not a fan of ours. That's the line I draw. It's not about politics and all this bullshit. It's about just being good to one another. And if you're an asshole, that's the line that Last Stand has drawn for a while. None of that other shit really matters to us. It's just, if you are an asshole, you get cut. That's it. Yeah. So if you're clipping us and messing with our shows and trying to make us look foolish and destroy us for whatever hate-fueled reason I will never understand, that's where I draw the line. But otherwise, you know, I try to, sorry, I'm going on for a while. I focus on optimism in gaming. Like, I'm very proud of Retro Rebound because it's just like everything is a celebration there. Like, Mr. Matty plays, you know, that channel, we'll talk about the news. Sometimes it's the hard conversations. Even then, a lot of times it's celebrating, but I have to have a critical edge there because I'm reviewing the current releases. We're talking about the current stuff. But for the back then stuff, like, it's been fun going into Final Fantasy 13 being like, I'm going to put some respect on this game. Here's why I think you guys should check this one out. And to me, that's what it's all about. So I feel like I put a lot of positivity out there. If you don't see it, you're ignoring it. And that's all there is to it. So
I just want to say one last thing. It's just that you got to look at the mentality, which is we've said something that has burnt this person's soul. Like, it has affected them to the point that they have to go and do some type of manipulation, right? Mm-hmm. But the reality is, bro, Twitter is not real life. Like, that's the thing. Like, people think that it's an echo chamber, bro. Like, that's not how the world is. And the sad part is that means everything to them. And I know, trust me, we've been in that immature gamer state at one point. All of us at some point. Just some dudes gotta, you know, rise up and get up out the hood and see how real life is. That's just all it is. That's not real. That's all it is. So it's just funny to me, but I'm with you, man. I at the end of the day, you know, like I said, we got to do better, y'all. Yeah. We got to do better.
I used to be more attached to it, but just, I don't know, a switch flipped on me this last, like, year.
Yeah, you ain't having it. I know that.
No, not even like in a bad way. No, like a switch flipped. Like, I just don't go on social media as often. I put out my thoughts. If I see someone talking smack, I don't care. I've been through it all. I've been through the call out videos. I've been through the critique videos. I've been through the hate fueled threads on Twitter. I know I'm young, but I literally have seen it all where I'm just like, I don't do what you want. I don't care. Just leave me alone. Let me talk about games. All right.
No doubt.
Number 5, a little more controversy. Kind of, actually, I didn't mean to organize it this way, but it's perfect for the topic we were just talking about. And then we'll get into the news. Not John Cena writes in, what's good, Duke Duo? So there's been a recent controversy about Xbox ambassadors and gaming. It's been found that an Xbox ambassador doesn't really play games and whatnot. This person basically said she doesn't love Xbox for the games, but for other things like custom controllers. In addition to that, she also said you don't have to play games to be the gamer. I'm not really one to talk down on anyone, but don't you think you should actually play games to be a gamer and a voice of the community? Do you think people like that in our community are the reasons Xbox seems to focus on hideous controllers like the furry Sonic controllers and nail polish when they should be focused on releasing games? I can't help but think that some of the wrong moves and decisions by Microsoft/Xbox are because of these influencers. I hope I don't come off as a dick, but what do you guys think? Thank you for writing in, John Cena. Miles, let's dish it to you again. What do you feel about this Xbox ambassador situation? I know it's an ugly one.
Miles, what you think? So your Twitter feed.
It's been I will say it's been one of the most unfortunate conversations that I've seen in the Xbox community in a long time. This whole obsession with, I know the specific individual they're talking about. In this particular write-in, they're actually mixing up that individual and a staff member of Xbox, Frankensteining them into one entity. The reality is, if you're complaining about a quote-unquote Xbox ambassador, if you want to be an ambassador for gaming, you should be talking about celebrating the things you love about gaming. Maddie, talking about Final Fantasy 13 and why this old JRPG holds up and why, despite everyone's negativity surrounding this game, you should go back, give it another chance. That is what you should be doing if you want to be a quote-unquote gaming ambassador. But the people quote tweeting this, the people dogpiling on these people saying you're not a real gamer, like that stuff is so tired, so old. A lot of us grew up in a world where gaming was not cool. It was the nerds, the dweebs played gaming, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And there's some of that mentality that sticks around and lingers, and it makes it so it is this niche thing that's only for me. I endured So you cannot be a part of this. There's this weird kind of ownership of gaming, and it's gross. I don't like it. I don't focus on it. I'm not going to talk about it because I like the idea that gaming is bigger than it's ever been. And I like the idea that people like my sister, who haven't gamed in years and years and years, randomly hits me up now that we can play Evil Dead the game together, and she's on PlayStation, I'm on Xbox, and we can just squad up and play games. People who, like my wife, who didn't really care about playing games, and then recently she's obsessed with State of Decay 2, and she has hundreds and hundreds of hours in State of Decay 2. Someone who doesn't really she would never call herself a gamer, and that's why like the term gamer has such an ugly connotation for a lot of people, because they use it as this weapon for them. My identity is this. I do this, so I am this. I watch a bunch of movies. I'm not going to call myself a filmer. Like there's that mentality doesn't exist anywhere else, and it gets scary and it gets ugly, as we saw with this Xbox ambassador situation. So yeah, I'm not going to say that Xbox is pandering to influencers and making Sonic controllers just to pander to influencers. Maybe they just want to have some fun and they have a bunch of dumb money to spend on dumb things, and that's okay. Let's have a little fun with gaming. Call me old fashioned, but I thought that's what it was about. Yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
Cog, how about you, my friend? How are you feeling about this situation?
I peeked into the streets to see what was going on and saw a lot of people's going at it. Yeah, it's a hot one. That's how I feel. Like, to me, the Xbox ambassador thing is silly only because that's whatever the criteria Xbox is defined, right? So whatever Xbox is defined as an ambassador and you meet that criteria, then I'm not going to get mad at that person for meeting it. The only time I question, this is where I feel is this, with this whole gamer thing, right? I'm not going to gatekeep the gamer term because at the end of the day, my feeling is there's dudes I know that only play Call of Duty all year. There's dudes I know that only play Madden all year. I'm not going to say that they're not gamers because that's all they do. And I am the official, I am the real one, right? Because he got into the culture. That's how I look at that. That one game got that person in. So I'm on that. The only thing I will side with, not being disrespectful to people, is I am not a believer in if you see something, like if I watch a stream, I don't believe I'm a gamer. If I watch someone stream, I'm an enthusiast. You know, I'm enthused about that. You know what I'm saying? And where the only gatekeeping I will say is that, like, yeah, if you're in the business of, let's say, reviewing games or something, I do feel you need to play to do that, right? Like, that's where I'm at with it. But as far as everything else, look, the funny part about this, Matty, I don't know if you saw, there are fanboys on the other side who are signing up for the Xbox Ambassador Program to troll because of the requirements. So again, to me, this is just whatever Xbox has decided that they want to do. And Lamont said they may just have money to play around and say, hey, this is a program we're doing or whatever. And maybe they reevaluate that later. But that to me is the biggest. And the last thing I'll say is this. I'm never a fan, right or wrong. Even if I disagree with someone, I'm never a fan of dogpiling.
Yeah.
I'm never a fan of like giving somebody hell on Twitter, waking up a whole bunch of messages and all that. I'm never going to be on that type of time. That's whack to me. But that's where I'm at. It was just a weird scenario. I was just watching it unfold, and I was like, all right, let me get back on my Yomi because I see what's going on right now. But Maddie, I'm curious, man. You hardcore gamer, Maddie. What's up, man? Where you at with all of this?
I'll be completely frank and say that I did only pay loose attention to this just because this was happening. Everything, apparently us getting clipped for our show. I haven't seen anything of that. This Xbox ambassador thing, all this happened over the weekend. I was out with my girlfriend.
That weekend was wild and new.
Yeah, it was her birthday. So I was off Twitter all weekend. So I didn't see really any of this. I come back, I see this whole thing about someone admitting, they watch their, I believe it was boyfriend, play games more than they actually play themselves. I'm very split on this. I do have a pretty strong belief that if you're willing to work in games on some level, you should be playing them pretty often. Now, again, there are like little caveats in that. Like if you're working on marketing in video games or the legal side of games, like you don't got to go grind Game Pass, okay? I just do feel like if you were on a level of being involved in games and where they're heading, you have to be connected to that community. And I feel like the best way you connect, as we've seen with good leaders and poor leaders in our industry, when I look at like PlayStation's leadership, when I looked at Xbox's leadership, the best time for these eras was when the leaders were also gaming. And I just feel like that's something we have to keep in mind. Now, I think there's a respectful way of doing it. That's what's kind of been unfortunate here. Like, I've never heard of this person before. I don't say that with disrespect. I just never have. And like people were just celebrating, like, you get what you deserve. Like, okay, deserve what? Do we even know this person? Yeah, like that's the thing. Like the bloodthirsty kind of charge towards these people, I don't understand. Holding them accountable, being like, yo, we're gonna check you. You're an ambassador. Maybe play some games. Don't just be a YouTube like watching Retro Rebound. Like, don't just do that. Go play the games, right? I agree with that. Like, I think that type of stuff should be checked if you're interested in working in the business. But otherwise, you know, it's unfortunate because it's become an issue exclusively with this person when this has been an issue with, like, I'd say the media side of things. Like, the media has been more transparent than ever before about, like, yeah, we just like don't really play much. That's my problem. I don't really, the Xbox Ambassador program doesn't really have an effect, as far as I know, on the type of games we're going to play. But the media has a direct impact on how you consume entertainment and the headlines you're reading and the reviews you're seeing. I think that's where it's more important. So I feel like this is just energy that needs to, number one,
good point,
be brought down, but redirected in a much more prominent discussion that does impact you instead of harassing someone borderline. Yeah. So I understand the energy people have here. In a lot of ways, I agree, but it's not, I think this isn't the right person to tackle, quite honestly. Not the most popular opinion probably, but just, I don't know. I feel like hold the media accountable because they've been in numbers announcing when they're not playing stuff. And I think it's not something you got to monitor where you got to, again, be the gamer police and kind of like check them. Because we've had that with like, I've seen it with Sacred Symbols. I've seen it with Defiant Duke. People are like, you're not really playing games or something like that, which I don't know how they could ever say that about our show. I can't speak for the Sacred Symbols guys, but people do try to gamer police. It's like, man, go live your life. I'm on that live your life energy this show. Like, just go do your thing.
Yeah,
please.
go. All that energy you're using to try to destroy this person on Twitter, you could be using to play games. The irony of this whole situation here,
yes.
And that's where it's at. I agree. The energy it's way too hot, way too heavy. There's some hard conversations that are probably worth having, but the way that they're approached online, it's less than constructive. We're not going to get anywhere with that. There's going to be no sort of there's going to be no growth. It's just like you said, some people just want that gotcha. They just want to bring that person down because they think for whatever reason that person is getting something or has something that they don't deserve. And you don't know that person. The reality is you don't.
Absolutely. So with that, thank you everyone for writing in. Let's move into the news. So I want to start off with PlayStation Plus because I think it's very relevant to Xbox fans and how things are looking right now with Game Pass being probably the most major delivery thing for fans and how PlayStation's rolling out this new renovated PS Plus program where they've announced the small catalog of PS4 and 5 games, their PS3 streaming games, their classic games library, how they're remastering some of them. There's a ton of information, but really what I wanted to go through is based off what you gents are seeing for the games, what is the value proposition to you? Miles, I'd like to start off with you because Cog and I had an opportunity to talk pretty extensively on DDU, and we'll talk about it here, of course, but how are you feeling about what you're seeing for PS Plus, the Ubisoft partnership, just a general catch-all on everything you saw with the service? And how Game Pass users, by the way, will have to deal with this.
I think it's really interesting when we're looking at Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus and how they're really, if we're really looking at what the content offerings are, these are supposed to be really enticing for new customers. Like that's supposed to be the most enticing thing for a new customer. So if you buy a PlayStation 5 or you buy an Xbox Series X, you sign up to the service, you get all of these games. If you are someone like myself or you who just consume a lot of games, play a lot of games, you often see people online say, I've already played these. This isn't interesting me. I already own this game. I've already played this game. But a lot of what it is, especially when we're looking at the PlayStation Plus lineup, is really exciting if you are new to PlayStation. If you haven't had a PlayStation, you haven't played Ghost of Tsushima, you haven't played Demon's Souls, you haven't played Bloodborne, there's a huge catalog of really damn good games in there. And you got to just pay one flat price and you get to play all of those games. Where previously, I paid for my launch PS5. Demon Souls and a year of PlayStation Plus, I spent like $600, well over $600 to play Demon Souls. That's the reality. Like I would have loved this type of offer, and there was a smaller, the PlayStation Plus type collection available at launch, so there was some stuff, but it's exciting to see that grow. I'm disappointed as a longtime PlayStation player by the retro selection. The retro selection here is booty. All right, it's got Ape Escape though, so Ape Escape, that's like, if it didn't have Ape Escape, I would be screaming from the rooftops, but they put that in, so I'll give them that. It's got Siphon Filter, but correct me if I'm wrong, it's 9 or 10 like PlayStation 1 games?
Yes.
It's
I have it right here.
such a short list, and they were talking about when they hyped the service up like 700 games, and then at launch, here's 100 games. Like, well, wait, where's the other 600 here, guys? I know you're going to be adding games every month. I know, I get it. You're trying to keep me from canceling. I understand. Your drop feed, like Nintendo Switch Online, they're sprinkling 164 game a month. Here you go, guys. And I get it. I get the mentality, but the launch slate for me, as someone who has a PlayStation 5, owns a lot of these games, I probably won't be upgrading. I'll keep my PlayStation Plus basic, but until they start stacking that retro library, I don't have a huge incentive to upgrade.
Yeah, I feel largely the same. I feel like with this service, what's best about it is exactly what you said. When you're new, like a lot of Xbox fans might be looking at this fall going, it's dry. I'm going to pick up a PlayStation. They get lucky. They get one. Now you have the ability to, I love how they put Returnal in there. They put Demon Souls Remake in there. They put a lot of PS5 exclusive games in there. Destruction All-Stars is one I know that didn't really pop off, but you get Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, which was in the PS5 era. Miles Morales is in there. And the ability to, on top of all the other PS4 games, if you have been out of that ecosystem for a while and you are about to play some catch-up, I think that's really exciting. I think that's a really good offer. I just think for current PlayStation fans, it's kind of underwhelming because most of them, they look at it and they go, oh yeah, I've played this probably twice at this point in time now. And there are ones that have been in the service, like God of War was in the PS Plus collection. Bloodborne was. Like these have been given away for free to PlayStation fans for years now. So there is a little bit of, I guess, underwhelming energy for some, but I'm right there with you, Miles. It's the classic games catalog. I love how they have like the new suspend point feature. They're upgrading some of them graphically, frame rate wise. That's hype. But like the games they have there, imagine if they just had Metal Gear, right? Like that's the thing I think about is it gives me, we talked about on DDU, gives me that PlayStation classic energy, right? The little device that they were selling where you're like, everything that's not PlayStation from that era is here on this device. And it's still a good set of games, but this isn't what I know PlayStation for. And I feel it's happening again. Like the fact that the only PSP game is Super Stardust Portable blows my mind. Blows my mind to smithereens. I'm like, out of everything, this is the pick. I mean, and a lot of people say, well, this isn't the full list. And I respect that. I get that. But I just think about, this is them swinging hard, right? You don't come out with the big punch in your second news drop, right? You know how the internet is. We've talked about it extensively in this episode. You get one shot, typically. I feel like this is a service that does need to grow. I can't help but imagine, whoa, what if Crisis Core were there day one?
Come on.
I'd be a happy boy. Man can hope and dream. But Cog, what about you, brother? How are you feeling about all that PlayStation Plus is offering you?
Yeah, we talked about it on DDU, and it's just like, on one hand, it's a little better than I thought it would be because I was very underwhelmed with the initial announcement of this. I'm never a fan of, it's going to be 400 games, it's going to be great. But what's in it? Right. Don't give me these big numbers. What are you giving me? So now that we broke it down, to me, it's very top heavy, where it's top heavy from the AAA standpoint of your first party exclusives that are probably like a year late, so that like anybody that missed out, you're going to get good value day one jumping in on those AAA, you're getting your Ghost of Tsushima, Demon Souls. Like I'm not a Souls guy, but hey, for the service, you're gonna let me try it, all right? I'll dabble. I'll see what Miles is playing. You know what I'm saying? So I'll do that. But as far as like where they really dropped the ball for me is, this is clearly them holding on to this great legacy we all know they have. Right? We all know, like, I want to see Jump and Flash. I want to see you giving me some little Tekken 2 on the side. Ape Escape, okay, but it's like, this is where they're back compat. They're clearly not committed. the way Xbox is, right? That's the first thing. Then I'm gonna be honest, that to me, the PlayStation Now streaming Gaikai energy, this feel like a pack-in on that part.
Yeah.
PS3 has a lot of titles that I really want to play, and when you're doing that, and there's not, I don't know any option to download them locally, right? I would hope, you know what I mean? I'm a PSP guy, I'm a Vita guy, like, I get it. This is the initial offering of the service. It should improve over time. But right now, unless you're brand new to the service, brand new to the ecosystem, right? If you're an existing PlayStation fan, you've probably already got the majority of these titles already, right? So that's where I just struggle with it. It's just not all the way a Game Pass competitor. And, you know, the other thing is with the demos, it's like we time getting demos a bit, right? We pay gating demos. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, and you know, so it's just like, look, better than what I thought it was, but not right now where I'm like, this is it. There's like, you got to do a whole bunch more to get me really sold on it. And that's where I'm at with it. Game Pass, the day and date of Game Pass just really puts a lot of pressure on this service to compete. I'm just going to stand on that. And then we're getting PC games. And then you're able to cloud stream. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, Game Pass just does a lot more. But we'll see. We'll see if it evolves over time and they end up giving us more of the stuff we want.
Yeah, certainly we have to give it that room to grow and breathe, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You look at Game Pass when it launched in 2017, I was an immediate subscriber, but I didn't love Game Pass then. I love Game Pass now. I love what it became and how they pushed it forward. So I'm interested to see how PlayStation evolves it, but they are absolutely taking the Nintendo Switch Online route here, so I have zero faith in them. So prepare yourselves for the monthly drops of disappointment because they're coming. They're going to be like, and we've got this weird PSP game that you've never heard of as our next PSP drop. And people are, you want to talk about vitriol in the comments? It's going to be PlayStation when they start doing these monthly drops. I did notice, Cog, you noticed this, and I think it's worth pointing out that it looks like there's about a year window on these PS5 games because you'll notice that like Ratchet and Clank's missing because it has yet to hit a year, but something like Returnal is there. So I feel like they've agreed internally, give it a year, then put it in the service, which is a long enough window where you should probably go out and buy it. But if you're hopping in later, it has the chance to appear there, which gives it good value over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not mad at that. That seems to be the financial play. Put it there, launch first, then eventually as a PC window, and then maybe after that, then it ends up in the service. And I think that's what works for them right now.
Yeah. With that, we also got to talk about Ubisoft Plus, which was announced to be coming to PlayStation as it was with Xbox back this January. However, they also revealed that beginning May 24th, they will launch Ubisoft Plus, it's called Ubisoft Plus Classics on PlayStation. And it'll feature games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, The Division, For Honor, Child of Light, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, Watch Dogs, so on and so forth. And they said this will grow to 50 by the end of 2022. As an Xbox player, this to me stood out as more of the tantalizing option in the mix here because long have we speculated that, since the beginning of last year it was, Ubisoft Plus will be coming to Xbox Game Pass. Since, of course, even before that, we were hearing EA Play or Ubisoft Plus. Now we know Ubisoft Plus is coming to Xbox. Gentlemen, do we see this little package of classics in quotes, making its way to Game Pass eventually? Does Xbox strike a bigger deal and say, give us all of Ubisoft Plus? And does that affect the price point? I just think about these things a lot because to me, this is the omission, right? This is the missing service within a service since EA Play was added in, where it's like, okay, we know what we can do now. This is something you all are capable of. Can they figure out a way to get Ubisoft Plus Classics onto Game Pass, and in what form? Miles, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I think it would be a really compelling offering with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Obviously, like you touched on, a lot of the conversations were, yo, dog, Ubisoft Plus in Game Pass, son. I'm like, Ubisoft Plus is $15 a month, dude. What are you talking about? They're just going to lump that in for free? Like, there's no way. So I was wondering, like, are they going to do upgrade offering like $5 extra or $8 extra and you get Ubisoft Plus? Like, I was wondering if they would get that kind of messy with the structuring, and maybe this Ubisoft Classics is a middle ground where Ubisoft can bring that portfolio to Xbox and say, we're willing to give you this for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate if you give us X amount of money, which I think is cleaner, makes more sense than Ubisoft Plus coming to Xbox Game Pass outright. Maybe there is a world, and I still think long term, as more and more publishers, see that subscription growth, baby. They see what that subscription market offers. We're gonna have Capcom being like, okay. We're gonna have Square being like, okay, maybe I should get in this. We're gonna have it's gonna be like the video streaming wars, where we have 100 publishers with subscription services, and they're all in Xbox Game Pass, and you have a dedicated hub where you have 18 different subscriptions you need to monitor within Xbox Game Pass. Maybe we'll get there, but I think short term, what I would like to see is this Classics collection bundled in with Ultimate.
Yeah. Cog, how about you, brother?
Don't got too much to add. Like, it was funny, we did Ultimate, and then I realized what Classics was, and I didn't realize it at the time. I'm like, oh, it's the older. Like, I should have. I don't know. I had a brain fart on that one, but yeah, I'm with I need Ultimate, man. I need Ultimate. I don't know financially if it makes sense, but in a perfect world, if there was some way they could get some variant of it in the Ultimate tier, that would be, to me, the more ideal thing. And just I'll operate it like EA Play, where it's like you kind of do, you don't get it day and day on the new releases, right? But maybe the 6 months to a year, then, the bangers, they end up being in the service, and you do the trial thing first. Because that's how EA Plays do it. Like, you don't get the Madden day one per se, but you wait a couple months and then it eventually comes, and then you have that vault. I would love a similar strategy. It was like a vault of these Ubisoft games, because when I really looked at Classic, I'm like, damn, there's Division 1. There's no Rainbow Six Siege. There's no, like, all the popping, so to speak, Ubisoft games. So that's what I'm hoping. I don't think this deal necessarily, because PlayStation did this with Classic, eliminates Xbox from anything. I mean, it would be interesting contractually if they had something there, but my gut tells me Ubisoft wants a bag from everyone.
Yeah.
Ubisoft's looking for a bag. They outside. They shopping. Whoever's willing to go, they do stadium money. They take all types of bags.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it ain't nothing for Microsoft. Exactly. So it ain't nothing for him to go to my man, what's his name? Yves Guillemot. And be like, look, Yves, man, we're going to cut you this check. You're going to give us Ultimate, give us a little variant of it, put you in Ultimate, you get your little bag on the side, and everybody plays nice. So I'm still holding on to the dream.
I imagine PlayStation had the foresight to put some type of window that this cannot be added to another service for a long while of some kind, just because I feel like that when you look at their lineup of games and in some avenues, how much of those games are made up of Ubisoft classics, I just feel like they would be losing out big time if they're like, yeah, and there's like a 3-month window. You can't sign up with anyone else. And then it comes to Game Pass. I feel like you gotta hold on to it for a little bit, because the name is Ubisoft Plus Classics for PlayStation. Do you make another one, Ubisoft Classics for Xbox, and what else do you offer from? I mean, I know they release 1,000,001 freaking games, but what else do you release after those 50 have come to PlayStation? I feel like we don't see this until maybe 2023, but
okay. Well, so you do think this slows down Xbox getting the service on some level?
Yeah,
at least slows it down.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Ubisoft is interested in taking that bag. I just know PlayStation has taken so much from Xbox with contracts. Why would you let this contract be the easy one? Is how I look at it.
But what if? No, I mean it's very well possible based on how PlayStation's history is.
Yeah, I just don't trust them.
But we did feel like this was always synonymous with Xbox, Ubisoft in general.
I agree.
So there's a part of me that also says Xbox already locked the premium version, and this is all you could get.
Yes, that is very possible. That's
so. But either one of our theories is correct. Yeah. I think based on what you said on play, it's going to be interesting to see. That's why I can't wait for the showcase to see if anything happens.
Exactly. I feel like this can go either way.
Either way.
If I'm wrong, it wouldn't surprise me. If I'm right, it also wouldn't surprise me. So we'll see. Tai writes in as well, just on this note. Hello, Dukes of Gaming. I need to know your thoughts on this relationship between Ubisoft and PlayStation subscription services that Matty had in his latest YouTube video. Does this mean Sony might acquire them? Gentlemen, do we think something's developing there? There have been rumors about a Ubisoft acquisition of some form. The most noteworthy scoop was a private equity firm was looking to consume them. Do you think there's trouble on the home front here? And they're like, all right, well, we'll take the PlayStation bag. Because that's the one, if you remember when this news popped up, I was linking these two. I was immediately saying, like, Ubisoft's got that PlayStation energy, third person, open world. Like, that's them, man. They love that stuff. So what are you guys feeling about this? Is Sony on the prowl?
me, and this maybe is not a popular opinion, if I'm Xbox or if I'm PlayStation, I'm not acquiring that. The number of look up the number of employees that Ubisoft has and compare it to every other big publisher. That is just an absolutely nightmare undertaking, especially with, again, the Activision Blizzard thing was surprising to me with Xbox for those reasons. It just seems like a logistical nightmare in so many ways. But I think with Xbox, they really wanted that Blizzard. They wanted that Blizzard energy because there's that relationship that kind of syncs with Microsoft, the PC side, the Xbox side. Ubisoft, to me, I hope it just stays partnership. If PlayStation wants it, good luck to you, Godspeed. But I really don't think that that's one Xbox or PlayStation. But maybe, Lord, look at Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is just going wild, buying anyone and everyone. Maybe Saudi Arabia will swoop in and buy Ubisoft, and we'll just live in this dystopian nightmare future where Saudi Arabia owns most of gaming. But so for me, that's where I'm at. I think Ubisoft is kind of a mess. I don't think it's worth acquiring, but it would add value to a subscription service, undoubtedly.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better, man. I've been preaching that, what Miles has been saying for the longest. Like, yeah, they're just... I honestly feel and I don't hate Ubisoft the way other people do, but I do feel they're kind of stagnant. Like they're not slight decline on a lot of their top titles. Besides, Assassin's Creed, I don't look at them as this juggernaut that they used to be. And like you said, that's a big undertaking to take over something like them. So I'm with giving you a partnership deal and a service, and that's it. Like, I don't feel you that guy like that anymore. Like Amazon. Activision is, that to me is what you do. So Amazon. Like, you know what?
We're talking like core gaming companies, PlayStation. If we're talking outside of gaming, Amazon.
I see like an Amazon or Tencent, one of them coming in, and like I just don't. To me, when you're publicly positioning yourself like that, people got to understand the business side. We have to look at what those numbers are truly generating for these titles. And that's what a lot of these companies look at. Sometimes, even though as the gamer, we like the games, some of these games in return of investment, if you're a publisher, is not worth it to say, it'd be sunk cost. So that's where I'm at with them. But it is going to be interesting to see who does acquire them. And if I would be shocked, like if it is a Sony or a Microsoft, I would be shocked.
Let's move on to number 2. In a presentation detailing for the fiscal year ending March 2022, Sega stated that the profits are better compared to 2021, and they fully expect to do even better come 2023. One of the lead reasons they believe this is due to their plans with our upcoming plans, which Sega says is a significant increase in releases of titles. Specifically, Sega plans to launch multiple new games, remakes, and remasters. Sega has embraced remasters as of late with the upcoming games such as Sonic Origins and past releases like last year's Sonic Colors Ultimate and Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. Sonic continues to be a strong performer for the company, with sales for the brand up 30% year over year, totaling out to 5.8 million games sold in the last fiscal year. So doing pretty hot over there. Gentlemen, remasters, remakes, all that good stuff coming from Daddy Sega. Cog, I want to dish it off to you. You're the OG here with Sega.
Yeah.
How do we feel about where they are trending with their portfolio of titles?
I'm excited. I'm a Sega kid at heart. It always broke my heart to see them just go away for a long time, and just to see the slight resurgence. It's nice to see. So look, hopefully we get those classics that we know they're sitting on. We'll see what the Super Game Initiative ends up being. that kind of a bit. But I'm happy that they're doing well. And they're back in a better position. They're never going to be hype Sega what they were, but it's good to see my boys back outside looking nice. But what about you, Miles? Ain't you a Nintendo kid, Miles? Ain't you?
I never hated Sega. Let me just start by saying
there you go.
I grew up in the age where my family had the Nintendo. One of my good buddies, they had the Sega, and we'd go over there, and it was dope. We would just be like, I don't get Sonic, so I'm going to go over to your house, play Sonic. Like, I don't have Mario. Come on, let's go play Mario. And so that was the energy. I wanted the Dreamcast to succeed early on. I was bummed to see it go. It was one of those things I bought like at the tail end, like a month or two before it like imploded and stopped. And I was like, damn, okay, well, cool console, innovative tech, bummer to see it go. And like you, like you're a bigger Sega fan than I am. But that being said, I love seeing Sega really invest in these franchises. Jet Set Radio, the possibility of that coming back and that like them really going for it and making it this huge online games as a service thing. Crazy Taxi. If we get remasters of Otage 1 and 2, that is where I give Sega a standing ovation. If they really go in and give me something on that level, it's just exciting to see these legacy companies really understand that if you invest in good video games and you give people good video games, you can make money. Because Sega, Konami, a lot of these legacy companies for a long time were like, we don't have to make games and we're making money, so we're not going to make games. And when we do make games, you're not going to like them. So it's awesome that there's this comeback, and these companies that I grew up with and inspired me to, pursue gaming are really delivering stuff. And so it's good to see Sega on the up and up for sure.
No doubt, Maddie.
Oh, it's time. It's time, Sega. You've got the keys to the castle. One thing that you didn't put in there was the ports. It's time to bring Persona over. And it's not only that, I've been saying for a while, it's time to remake Persona 3. That is the game that deserves the remake out of them all. 4 is relevant. 5 is popping off. Those could just use ports. 3 remade is absolutely something that I think they got to be considering, because it is easily the biggest candidate for it. It's got it was the start of everything that made Persona popular. The social links, the full-on turn-based combat for party members, the school life, all that stuff right there and then. So I feel like you got to tackle that one in some way, shape, or form. This is the time where they're planning, because we've heard things like, I heard Miles say, Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi, right? The reboots. These are full-on AAA production. But like now they could do stuff with Sonic, even like a Sonic Adventure remake. Look, I know some of y'all out there in LSM despise Sonic. Collins really led the charge on that, and I get it. I was right there with y'all, but I played Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, and I'm just saying, some of you are missing out. There's some really good shit in there, and if they were to remake these games, there would be a frenzy unlike many others out there. Like there is a lot of love for SA1, SA2. These are timeless games for people. So Sega's sitting on a gold mine, and I'm just like Miles. I'm very enthused that these companies that have such a strong heritage are learning how to intelligently dip into the back catalog with, again, more recent IP. I'd say like Persona. I know it's many years old, but it's only become recently popular, and very old stuff like Sonic, Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi. So I'm pumped to see what they do with all of this, and I'm Sega's a company to watch. That's all I'm saying. We've really tracked them closely here on this show, and for good reason. I feel like with Super Game, it's a little nerve-wracking. We were talking about with the NFT stuff that they might be treading into. I am a little nervous for that, but with the remakes, remasters, to me, those are those types of things you look at and go, well, how could you mess that up? Can't go wrong. Can't ruin that, right? You can't ruin bringing back Jet Set Radio, some funky music, cel-shaded art style, graffiti, rollerblading, call it a day, right? No NFTs there. Certainly not.
That's what you think.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what I think.
Wishful thinking.
All right. Well, with that, let's move on to number 3. This is where Miles can get nice and cozy. We're going to talk about some nice horror games.
Strap in here.
During an EA live stream, it was confirmed that Dead Space Remake will release January 23rd, 2023. The game was first announced July 2021, and since then, the developer EA Motive has done a multitude of live streams on the art and sound design for the game, showing it all off. With this release date announcement, it comes with 15 pieces of brand new concept art, and a full reveal is said to be planned for Halloween this year. Suspiciously, earlier this same week, EA hosted a financial earnings call of their own, where they released a list of games they expect to come out ahead of the end of March 2023. The standout omission in that list was Dead Space Remake. However, it is possible that EA was trying to keep a lid on the surprise for fans. Gentlemen, I don't fucking buy this one at all. This is not coming out January 23rd, 2023. I will make a bet. Does anyone want to make a bet? Does anyone make a bet? I'm not a betting man, but I'm a betting man here.
I'm not going to take that bet. No.
I'm not going to take it.
Okay. There we go. Because you agree, right?
It.
Who wants to go first?
Dead Space Remake. Yes. The January 2023 release date. Again, I'm in the same camp. Don't get attached to that release date. Just last month, they showed us gameplay footage, which was cool to see, but that looked really early. Like we thought that was very early in production, some of those fundamentals. And sure, there are possibly builds. And as we touched on, not all games take 5 years to make, especially when you're doing a remake. You can kind of turn things around a lot quicker. But I am a little skeptical on the idea of Dead Space hitting that January window. I'm also a little bit upset with EA because of how they handled Visceral. And I'm also not one of the people who's super amped up, or I should say I'm not just going to blindly be amped up about the Dead Space remake, because quite frankly, EA has to earn this one from me.
Miles, yes,
just like Daddy.
yes.
Just like
It's so nice to hear myself speak.
Is one of my favorite horror franchises. It came out at a time when I'm a horror fan. I love horror. Played it my entire life. Resident Evil 1, one of the very first video games I ever played. Like that's how long I've been playing horror games. And Dead Space, to come out and find a way to reimagine the formula when franchises like Resident Evil, Silent Hill were struggling to figure out like how to stay relevant, how to make a new game. Dead Space came out and said, bam, this is how you do it. And it hit so hard. And then Dead Space 2 hit, and it elevated everything I loved about Dead Space 1, the action, the intensity, the horror, the moment-to-moment gameplay of Dead Space 2. Perfection. Perfection.
Yes.
Dead Space 3, I still liked. I put it in the camp of Resident Evil 5. Maybe not the best horror game, but a good co-op game. And I played it a lot with buddies. But that was where you saw the influence of EA, where they were coming in and saying, how do we monetize you? We're monetizing everyone else. How do we monetize you? And they did things that they wouldn't normally do. They did things they probably didn't want to do. And when that didn't hit, EA's like, how dare you fail? You failed us. And then they put them on Battlefield, and then they just shuttered them. And so that studio that I don't care if you didn't like if Dead Space 3 wasn't your favorite, Dead Space 3 in terms of quality was a damn good game. So Visceral comes out, they deliver a strong series of incredible games, and then EA says, peace, you're not making us enough money. And that, to me, it's hard for me just to forgive and forget that. So again, I think EA is understanding that, like a lot of these other big publishers, they have to put out good games. They have to put out games that are good, or people are going to be mad. They on a more sinister side, they probably saw the success of Resident Evil 2 remake, and they're like, "Oh shit, people are going to buy horror."
Yeah, that is the report.
People are going to buy horror.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Okay, we can do horror now, and that's where I get a little hesitant. If you're doing it just for the money, I don't like it.
The money was there. The
horror,
money was already there.
Horror is not about the money, okay? And that's what you have to accept if you're going to make horror games. It's not about the money. It's about the experience. And so I hope the remake is good, because I love the original Dead Space. There are some glaring issues when you go back and play the first Dead Space when it comes to pacing. So I think there's too much backtracking.
Spicy.
I think Dead Space 1, as much as I love it, the tail end falters a little bit. I've replayed it in the last 6 months to really kind of
same. Wow, me and Miles are just like spiritually connected.
Okay,
That's so funny.
I've replayed it, and I was like, man, I don't remember this back end being as tedious. But that being said, so if they can streamline that, kind of button up a couple loose edges, and improve the gameplay a little bit, I'm going to check it out. I will check it out. I will be open-minded, but like I said, they got to earn it. They got to earn this one from me.
I feel you on that.
Don't got much to add because you guys are Dead Space guys. But look, trust no date. Trust no date. I was shocked too. I was like, January? Like, that seems quick. And I understand it's a remaster or whatever, so maybe the assets is not as hard as a full-blown game. I'm very surprised by it. So we'll see if this hits it. I just like seeing y'all go through it about EA more. I get great joy in seeing y'all get frustrated that they could potentially butcher your masterpiece. And I think it's quite hilarious. So not that I want them to butcher your game. Not that I want them to butcher your game, but it just, I love how passionate y'all are about this. And if they mess it up, I know y'all gonna give them that work. So I'm here for that part of this. I want to know when it come out, if it's true to the essence, if they doing what they supposed to do, because I know 2 videos gonna come out and I'm just gonna sit there and watch Miles and Manny go at it. Like, I told you, this is when they chase the bag and this is what happens. And I just want to see that. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I'm right there with Miles. The astonishing lack of foresight from EA just is really hard to forgive, where they like literally close them down because they feel their games aren't as relevant, and then only to give the IP that is now more relevant than probably ever because of the success of Resident Evil, which Capcom continued to believe in. It's astonishing. So yeah, they got to earn from me, and it will be a bloodbath if they screw this up, because I'm of the mindset, like, I think Dead Space 1 and 2 are as close as you can get to like survival horror perfection, like in its atmosphere. I do kindly disagree with you, Miles, on the pacing. I see what you're talking about, but like, I just think everything about it, top to bottom, is pure excellence. You know, you could tell they saw Resident Evil 4 and went like, how do we reinvent this? And they took these utility tools and turned them into weapons. And instead of shooting people in the head, it's like, what if you shot everything off but their torso? And you didn't just always go for headshots, but you cut their neck off, you cut their arm off. They still kept coming at you until you shot out their legs. That level of like weapon combat interaction, insane. It just a true timeless gem. And even though they didn't put FPS boost on it, but they put it on 2 and 3, you should still go and play it in back compat. Really awesome games. Love them dearly. And so don't expect it to come out this January. I will be very, if we are a week out, Cog, mark this moment. If we're a week out,
if they come out,
I will have a nervous breakdown live on this show. I will be just terrified, because I'll be like, no, man, there's no way this game's ready. No way this game's ready. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's good, but we'll see. Number 4, Miles, this is all you, brother. Following this week's leak of supposed Silent Hill concept art, it appeared that the title leaked by VGC in February was all but confirmed. It is being claimed across VGC, Jeff Grubb, and Nate the Hate that Silent Hill 2 is being remade by the medium developer Bloober Team, featuring reworked AI, animations, puzzles, several new endings, and potentially is a timed exclusive for PlayStation. However, that's not all, as VGC has been told from sources that Konami is shopping the IP to multiple developers. One other Silent Hill project in development is a set, smaller episodic series of short stories, which is said to be handled by Annapurna Interactive. Lastly, VGC is unsure of who is developing this next project, but they have been told that it is a new mainline entry that is on the way. All of this was reported last year, where VGC again had the scoop and claims that a Japanese studio is handling it. Miles, I've seen you really talking about this one a ton. So how do you feel about what's going on with Silent Hill? I've never played these games, so of course sell us on it in the process, but are you and I, we talked when the medium came out, and we did disagree on what that game was, and I thought it was very boring. You seem to really dig it, though. You have more faith in Bloober Team than I. So how are you feeling about the recent leaks and reports of Silent Hill coming back?
Again, the theme of this episode is excitement that these once dinosaurs, and it seems a little rude, but people like Konami, who for a while didn't seem like they cared about video games, are maybe starting to care. And again, like EA, Konami hasn't treated its IP the best. It hasn't treated its teams the best. I really, I'm not even Kojima, but I really think it was wildly disgusting how he wasn't allowed to show up at the award show for Metal Gear Solid to accept, like, Konami in a lot of ways isn't the best company. So again, I don't really want to be incredibly I love Silent Hill, so I'll forgive everything else that they've done, but I also love Silent Hill. And Silent Hill 1 and 2, 2 in particular, one of my favorite games of all time. Again, you talked about Dead Space and the atmosphere there. The atmosphere, the tone, the tension of that world was so fresh, so unique, so horrifying. I distinctly remember those experiences because I have never been more scared playing a video game in my entire life than when I played Silent Hill 1 and 2. And so those memories for me, that'll never go away. You can never take that from me. And so, yeah, there's a lot of reports. I had heard from several people that ahead of E3 last year that that summer was going to be the reveal for at least one of these Silent Hill projects. And then there was that letter where they're like, hey, we're not quite ready. We need more time to show that. And I was like, okay, well, I guess this isn't the year for Silent Hill. And so since then, there's been this ravenous speculation about Silent Hill and what's coming. I mean, let's be real. It's every single year since PT has been out and Silent Hills have been out. There's been some really wild, unfounded conspiracy about Silent Hill and what's coming and blah, blah, blah. But at this point, we are starting to see all of these pieces and all of these rumors and starting to get a glimpse into what could be the reality of Silent Hill. And yeah, the Bloober Team situation, a lot of people are unhappy, really, really unhappy about Bloober Team. And, you know,
really,
I've talked about this previously. I think they have done an amazing job with atmosphere. And Silent Hill is 90% atmosphere. And even if you think their combat is, because I've never done combat before, and I think that's where a lot of people are like, their games are boring to me because it is a quote unquote walking simulator. We know they're hiring combat animator. We know they're increasing their team. So there will be, they're not going to take combat out of Silent Hill 2. I've had the opportunity to sit down with this team and talk to them directly about their inspirations. Many of them cite Silent Hill 2 as the biggest influence for them for making video games. And Akira, the famous composer of Silent Hill, has worked on the medium, and he told that team that he would work on any of their future projects. So this legendary composer also believes in the vision of Bloober Team, believes in the talent of this team. And a lot of the hostility I've seen from, anti-Bloober Team is the medium and the way it handled trauma and those situations. And I will admit that, in some cases, I don't think it did the best job. But I think it's a matter of intent. And I think a lot of people are being very pessimistic about the possibilities and trying to basically say that Bloober Team is the worst possible studio for Silent Hill, which I firmly and strongly believe that is far from the truth. In fact, before the medium came out, I was already saying that Bloober Team was the team. If we're looking at realistic targets for modern horror and people who have committed their entire studio culture to making horror games, Bloober Team is one of the main standouts. And again, their games haven't been perfect, but they've never had a legit opportunity, I think, to get that big bag. Like we were talking about with Greedfall earlier and its jankiness and Spider's history. You have to be able to look at the potential and possibility of a team and give them the resources and opportunity to try. And Silent Hill 2, like I said, is one of my favorite games of all time. And I'm not just going to pass and say, oh, well, Bloober Team did okay on it. Well, no, I will be incredibly critical of that release. And I do think that team can do it well. And I hope they do. And if I'm wrong, I'll take the big L. You can rub it in my face all day. But if I am right, I will be so obnoxious for a week on Twitter. I will be the most obnoxious you have ever seen me on Twitter.com if Bloober comes out and just crushes Silent Hill.
You've been riding for Bloober. I've been seeing you go hard.
That's where I'm at. I'm excited for it. I'm excited about, Annapurna being involved with the episodic thing. I'm excited about a Japanese team making the next mainline entry. I'm excited. And I hope these hit. I hope Konami cares. And with Bloober Team getting a bag from theoretically Konami and PlayStation, clearly PlayStation sees something in this as well. So I imagine that the production for this experience will be solid. So
yes,
fingers crossed. I'm hoping for the best. And that's where I'm at.
Shout out to Bloober Team playing both sides of the fence, man.
I never fault anyone for getting that bag,
Yeah, no, definitely not. They're businesses, man. Function to the best of your abilities.
Yeah. Listen, Konami's sitting on money. Silent Hill, we've been waiting. I'm the same with you, Miles. Resident Evil was always going to be near and dear. But I remember when I played Silent Hill for the first time, and I was talking about Trek to Yomi, right? And how about the atmosphere and that was the character. Silent Hill made me uncomfortable throughout. And that was the first time a game didn't have to rely on a jump scare to get me. It was just like, I'm uncomfortable. I got to get out of here. I got to, what I'm saying? It was just one of them things. And it forced you to deal with things. You know what I'm saying? I felt I'm very curious to see how they're going to translate that fog in this day and age. Because I feel like back in the day, the fog was more of a technical hiding limitation kind of a thing as opposed to atmosphere. But it just worked out. It worked out at the time what we was dealing with. But look, they're sitting on it. Miles, you're gonna be mad. I'm with Maddie on this. I'm not the biggest fan of Bloober's medium, but
I'm not mad. It's not a perfect game.
because what it was, bro, I had so much hype for that game coming in.
Did?
I was really riding for it because they're gonna try something new.
Good for you.
And I guess
Nice.
you foul for that. But you know what it was? It was just that the techie in me got too caught up with the dual world thing, the two rendering thing. I'm like, it just ended up being like a split screen with a fixed camera. And I just thought it was going to do more than what was actually presented. You know what I mean? So to people's point, they got to show that they can do combat because I ain't really seen no combat going on yet. But this is what I will say to Miles, to defend Miles. I know he riding for the that I will give you that the fact that your man was an Akira and the fact that they are such fans of Silent Hill, I think bodes well because you want a studio that is truly passionate about doing something that is beloved. And hopefully, like Miles said, with a budget and a bag, we could truly see what they can do. But I'll tell you this, Miles, if they mess this up,
Oh boy.
you gonna hear from me.
Oh, if they mess up one of the most beloved horror games ever?
Bro, this should be a slam dunk, right? You already have the foundation. The blueprint is there. Just trace around and make it nice. And it's there for them to win. They should get a sure W from this one. I just hope
Now,
they don't mess this up.
Miles, you can educate me. I do have some more thoughts, but why the second one? Why not the first one?
That is an interesting question because I think a lot of people assumed it would be the first game if they were doing a remake.
The story makes sense. I don't know if these are just like separate entries.
These are completely isolated. So thankfully, you don't have to have an understanding of the first game. They are standalone stories in a lot of ways. Cool. So yeah, thankfully you won't have to have played one. So I'm wondering if they are going to call it Silent Hill 2 or if they will call it like Silent Hill : something like they did with Shattered Memories, which I think, I guess technically that was a remake of 1, the Wii game. So maybe that's why they're jumping straight into 2. But yeah, like Cog, like you said, there's a lot of pressure on this because so many people have so many strong feelings about Silent Hill 2. Thankfully, Resident Evil 2 has set a foundation and a blueprint for, this is the bar. If you're going to step into the horror Thunderdome and remake an iconic classic, this is what you need to hit at. So that's there. And I can't imagine that Konami and PlayStation and Bloober Team are going to ignore that and put out something that isn't on that level, but we'll just have to wait and see because it's going to be a messy lead up, and if that launch isn't perfect, it's going to be a messy launch.
Yeah, look, I just want it graphically to look great. That's so I can see it.
No. What I just want is something to happen. That's what I want, and that's my biggest thing with the medium. Nothing happened, and I think by design, Silent Hill 2 will encourage encounters of some form, as far as I know. So I feel like they have a chance here because something will happen. That's the thing.
You getting messy out here.
Messy, man. You wild messy. I love it.
But seriously, I'm not trying to be messy. Like, that's the thing with the medium. Like, me and Carrick were. You want to talk messy? Me and Carrick were brutal to that game, man. We destroyed it because we're like, it's boring because it's not bad. It's just nothing happens for like 9 hours. You just walk. And that's it. Like, I couldn't find any gameplay and I couldn't believe it. So for me, it's like, I'll give them a chance here. If they blow this one, I don't think they will, but if they do blow this one, oh man.
They'll never. Yeah, like I said, they will never ever hear the end. I mean, they're already like, people are already looking for a reason to destroy them for even considering to touch
destroy.
This. That's true.
We should be cautious though, but not destroy them. Especially the thing, it's like, Miles, the way you're speaking about them, I totally get, because it's like me with Aspire. A lot of people look at Aspire, who's working on the KOTOR remake, and they're like, well, they've never really released a full-on AAA game. And I'm like, yes, fair, but their whole studio has been built around revitalizing old Star Wars games for many years. They did Bounty Hunter, they did Republic Commando, of course they did the first KOTOR. The list goes on. Episode 1 Racer. They've just brought Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast. They're bringing like all these old Star Wars games that I grew up back. Like, that's what their whole studio is built around. Is it a completely different challenge to build a AAA game? Yes, but like, I totally get you that you have faith because it means something to that team. Just like just like it does with Bloober and Silent Hill.
Yeah, and there's no greater feeling than seeing that underdog team that you've liked their games, you've saw the promise, and then when it clicks and they put out that title that shows the world like if you give this team the time and the resources to succeed, here's what they can do. And we've seen that with so many studios over the years, and it's a lot of janky teams. Like again, I'll bring back the Greedfall example because that team they despite some of the jank that COG experienced, a lot of people, that was the moment for them where this team that they ignored, Bound by Flame, their other previous titles, where people are like, I don't get, they're janky, they're buggy, their games are ugly, and then they have Greedfall and people are like, oh damn, like this is that team firing on all cylinders. And it's cool to have those moments, whether you like the team or not. Like I'm never going to root for a team to just fail, but I do understand why people are cautious about Bloober Team. But I'm excited. And that's where I'm going to stay. I don't care what twitter.com says. So
I'm excited, but hearing you, Horror Buff, say it's the scariest game you've played, I just bro, I am such an easy target with these types of games, man. And oh God, this one will probably eat me alive. I don't know if I'll play it, but I'm rooting for him.
You owe yourself the experience.
Man. Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a good game.
Oh, yeah? You think I can handle it?
Yeah, you can handle it. Like I said, it just forces you to deal with things. That's all.
Okay, so I'll paint a picture for you. You can rate my bitch meter here. So I was playing Resident Evil 8, and the marionette house part where they just shut the lights off and you're forced to kind of walk forward in the dark.
Yeah.
I was screaming during that. I was actually screaming during that. Now, gauge that on what I'm going to see in Silent Hill 2.
So that formula, that's Silent Hill. That section of Resident Evil Village was
he ain't ready. He ain't ready.
That was their tribute to Silent Hill. That whole section was like, we're going to randomly go from classic Resident Evil to bam, this is Silent Hill level horror. Like that is the tension, the scares, the ugliness that they put in that world.
Ugly, the grunged.
That art. Yeah. That warmed my heart so much.
Me, on the other hand, I couldn't wait to get out of there.
There's no Resident Evil, I feel, gives you breaks.
Yes.
So, you know what I'm saying? Like they ramp up the tension more and more. And again, it's just you what you're dealing with, what you got to do. And you're like, oh, it's that kind of vibe. So yeah, you might not be built for it. If you're that, you might not be built for it.
Maybe one day.
You handled Dead Space though. You handled it. I mean,
you handled but Dead Space, I got do you have weapons? What kind of weapons do you have in Silent Hill?
A 2x4 and a pistol with 3 bullets.
No, see, Dead Space, it's bro, you get some weapons of mass destruction. It's
That's true.
I can handle the problems with my own hands. So it's you may scare me right there. I'm gonna blow your head off now. With Silent Hill, I'm walking around with a 2x4. You said,
yeah, Silent Hill 2. Your starting weapon is just this janky 2x4 that takes 50 smacks to kill something. With.
Yes. Oh dear. Yeah. Oh dear.
Yeah.
What about Fatal Frame, Miles? What do you say on that one?
Fatal Frame 2, one of the greatest, one of the GOATs. That game in particular does not get enough recognition for its pacing. That brought Japanese horror to an American audience in a huge way because that leaned into the folklore, the mythology, their spirituality. Fatal Frame 2 director's cut, that still holds up. You can go back and play that, and that'll rock your socks, dude. That entire game. Some of the other Fatal Frames, not nearly as good, but Fatal Frame 2 in particular. God.
Traumatic experience.
We had a group of 4 people playing that together, and we were all on edge, in the room together. It's one of those games that transcends. You don't even have to be alone in the dark for it to really get the little hairs in the back of your neck going.
Okay. I'm just gauging what's the squad I need for this. Can I play this during the day? That's what I'm trying to feel out. So okay. Thank you, Miles, for walking me through this.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
All right, number 5 is one that we did get a lot of write-ins about. Xbox is finally getting Fall Guys on June 21st, where it will be free to play. Along with that, the new update is bringing a new season, cross-play, cross-progression, and delisting the game on Steam following Epic's acquisition of the developer Mediatonic. John Hankey writes in, "Hey Dukes, I just wanted to say you were missed at the live show, and I hope to see you at any upcoming shows. Fall Guys recently got their Xbox release date announced for this June. I love Fall Guys, and I'm excited for a new audience to experience it. Crossplay will be great for the player base. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on the game, and if you'll try it out once it comes to Xbox. I hope you have with all the game delays, I just want to catch up on my backlog, but then I just play League of Legends instead kind of day, which I can relate to. Gents, have you played Fall Guys yet when it was free on PS Plus? Or is this something you waited till it came to Xbox for?
Cog, you dive in?
Yeah, I played it when it first came out. This game is funny because I knew about this game way before a lot of people. Like, this is one of the games that, shout out to LordsOfGaming.net. Shout out my boy Gene. And I remember we're going to PAX and we're like, all right, so we're looking at all the media, PR, releases, what games we going to tackle. And that game came up and I didn't know what it was. So I was just like, whatever. One of the writers could take care of that or whatever. And I never forget, we doing our coverage. He came back to me on the floor. He's like, you guys have to try Fall Guys. This thing's going to be a smash. I'm like, this little weird looking goofy game? What? Like, he's like, I'm telling you. And I never forget, he wrote a few articles on it. It did so well for our site. And it became a phenomenon. And I remember, like, when was it going to come to Xbox? When is it going to come to Xbox? Like, what's going on? And PlayStation made a good choice of, kind of locking that down and having the foresight initially. And then obviously we see the Epic stuff. This is going to be huge. It's a perfect party game. It's fun. It's silly, and to see the cross play with the player base and this is going to do well. So I'm excited to see this thing come. And yeah, I'll be firing it up.
How about you,
Let's
Miles?
go. Yeah. Before I dive into it, I got to say, Xbox somehow managed to miss like two of the biggest, most prominent social games back to back for a long time with Among Us and Fall Guys. And all the Xbox fans had to sit on the sidelines and watch everybody have fun with these amazing games. Like Fall Guys, I was following that before release. I was like, oh, this is Wipeout meets Most Extreme Elimination Challenge, but a battle royale. I'm there. Day one, was stoked, saw it wasn't coming to Xbox. Was like, I'm buying this on PC. I don't care. I'm not waiting for this game. So I am excited. I will definitely be diving back in when it comes to Xbox. And I'm hoping with the seasonal approach, the free-to-play thing, that the rewards are a little more consistent because it had some cool stuff at launch, but it was a little grindy. So I'm hoping they balance that a little bit better and give you more rewards. But yeah, Fall Guys, finally. It took, what was it, 2 years?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
that was a pandemic game, yeah.
Yeah, two full years to come to Xbox. But here we are. We made it. Cross-play, so the player base should hopefully be solid. And it's launching on Switch as well. So there will be a cool new influx of 2 new audiences, which will be exciting to see. Because the game's great. I haven't touched it in a hot minute, so I am excited to kind of jump back in.
Yeah.
Maddie?
Yeah, I played it when it first was like the hot thing. I enjoyed it. I thought it was cute. I can see why a lot of people really liked it. For me, it was just kind of like riding the trend. I was like, let's see what this is all about. It was fun. It was competitive. In a different way. I see how a lot of people just really fell head over heels for it. But it wasn't really sticking around for me. I dropped it pretty quickly. I never got a crown, I'll admit. I never got a crown. And then, I don't know. I saw this. I was like, okay, cool. But then I saw so many write-ins. I was like, all right, I'll make sure it's in our news section of our show instead of like the before we begin, where it's just like we kind of just go over and move on. So I'm very happy to see Xbox get it, but I agree with both of you that they need to make sure they're in on these big social games a little bit closer in proximity to their release. All right, let's move on to number 6 is another quick one. Techland has revealed concept art for its unannounced AAA open-world fantasy RPG. For this new IP, the studio has employed narrative director Carolina Stockria and narrative lead Arkadiusz Borowick, both whom previously worked on The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Now they are hiring for this project. I am excited, gents. I fucking loved Dying Light 2. That game was mad good. So I'm very happy to see them moving on to something brand new here. Did either of you have a chance to play Dying Light 2 by chance?
I have not.
I also have not.
I don't want to overhype it because I know it was very buggy. I said that in my review. But I thought the open world, the tension of nighttime was so well done. And that's stuff that you could see in the first game. But what really elevated this game for me was like the story and the choice and consequences. I thought the story was worth caring about, but the way you would make choices and they would like reflect interactive parts of the environment in the game world was so unique to me. It's still one of my favorites of this year. I highly recommend it. So I'm rooting for this team. I can't wait to see what they do next. Especially fantasy RPGs. I feel like We're currently in a dry spell of those. I think with Xbox coming around, that'll pick up with things like Avowed and Fable on top of other things we don't really know. But I'm very excited. They have one of the best movement systems in the industry. So very, very interested to see what this becomes. But it looks like they're continuing that focus on narrative. Sorry, Kyle, go on.
No, I was just saying the concept art does look fire. Yeah, that's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's really exciting because based on the concept art that we've seen, it seems like it focuses on like Mayan culture potentially, and I love RPGs. I love open world RPGs, and I prefer the fantasy set. Like I don't like guns typically in my open world RPGs. Just out of habit. I'm old school like that. But that being said, I would love to see more than just medieval when it comes to fantasy. So Mayan culture, seeing that on full display here, imagining Techland transition the open world stylings of something like Dying Light 2 into this. Let's go. I'll definitely on Dying Light 2. I will get around to. It was just an unfortunate casualty of Elden Ring window.
Oh, of course.
It came out 2 weeks before Elden Ring, and I was like, I'm not even going to start because I know for a fact I will not finish it right now.
Over.
I put a good almost 60 hours into Dying Light 2. Like that was a real, like I was even playing it sometimes during Elden Ring. Like, I thought it was really, really good. So I'm very excited to see what Techland does next. All right, that moves us to number 7, coming soon to Xbox Game Pass. This is that, I put this in quotes, underwhelming list that Miles was talking about earlier. So May 17th, Her Story comes to PC Game Pass. Jurassic World Evolution 2 comes to cloud, console, and PC Game Pass. Little Witch in the Woods in-game preview comes to console and PC Game Pass. Skate comes to cloud Game Pass, or I'm sorry, just cloud in general. And then Umurangi Generation Special Edition comes to cloud, console, and PC Game Pass. So that's May 17th. Then May 19th, you get Farming Simulator 22 on cloud, console, and PC, and Vampire Survivors on PC Game Pass. And then May 24th, Floppy Nights, cloud, console, PC Game Pass, Hard Space Shipbreaker, PC Game Pass. Then the big one, May 26th, Sniper Elite 5, console and PC Game Pass, day one. Then May 27th, Cricket 22 on PC Game Pass. And day one again, Pac-Man Museum Plus, cloud, console, PC Game Pass. Any standouts here, gents? Anything exciting you about this list? Or is it as bad as the internet says?
I think people are sleeping on Sniper Elite. I honestly was sleeping on Sniper Elite until they added FPS boost to Sniper Elite 4, and I went back with a buddy, and we were playing through that in co-op.
It's great.
The freedom of that world. It's huge. It's massive. There's so many. It reminds me of like what I loved about Hitman 2, Silent Assassins back in the day. Like it filled that void for me. Like there was a moment where we cleared out an entire map. We killed 50 dudes. We dragged all of their bodies into a massive pile in the center of town. We put all of our C4 charges on all of these corpses.
I'm done.
Boom! Just a shower of bodies flying through the sky.
They had the animation for all the bodies and all that. That's crazy. That's dope.
So that level of freedom in there is huge. So I'm excited for that. And I gotta say, Pac-Man Museum Plus looking pretty rad. The gimmicky little feature where you get to customize your own like Pac-Man arcade. You get to like change your floor, change your wallpaper. It's got some Animal Crossing like layouts for furniture and stupid stuff like that. I'm a sucker for that wholesome, pointless kind of loop. So that'll give me an incentive to go, because if it was just a collection of Pac-Man games, I'd dabble. But if I'm grinding Pac-Man games to pimp out my arcade, okay, now we're getting somewhere.
That's the incentive. Yeah, this state for me. This one.
I saw you kind of like hiding your face a little.
I will say though, Miles, you sold me on. I need to try. I have never played a sniper game.
Oh man,
I've never played one.
Really?
I didn't know what it was, to be honest. I never did any research on it. I didn't. So. Yeah. When you said that, now the series has always been co-op, like it's always been
since V2 at least. That was the one I played.
Okay, you know what? For Game Pass, you know what? We'll fire it up. We'll see what it do. I'll grab somebody up and see what. I'll give it. That sounded pretty fun. What you described. What you say? A little Hitman vibe. I said,
yeah, dude.
Is there any narrative? I got the vibe like it was no narrative though. Is there any narrative with the game?
Kind of, sort of. There's
it's kind of just go kill, have fun, right? That's really what it is.
Kind of, sort of like this is the reason you're on this map. Here you go. Kill this person.
Do this. Yeah. All right. I'll give it a shot. Other than this,
I think you get a little more excited, Cog. I think Sniper Elite is going to surprise you a lot more because you know nothing about this, right? So you don't even know some of the mechanics on like how you take people out. The X-ray.
Matter of fact, I see, some cinematic bullet time thing.
You're gonna love that.
That looked cool.
Yeah.
You kind of bust somebody's skull out. Yeah, that part looked cool. I did see that.
Because it's like World War II centric. You don't have silencers, but if you shoot and you'll broadcast where you are, so there's like turrets firing, and you'll have to like synchronize your shot with that, and that's how you mask your kills. And so it's a lot of timing based kills too. And so when you get like the mile deep one and you're like reading the wind, you're like, okay, up here, down here, and you fire and you see like the kill cam activate, and you're like, oh, I got him. I think because you like Hitman, I really think you're gonna like this one. So I'm very excited for Sniper Elite 5. That's one that I've had marked on my calendar since they had announced it. Otherwise, Jurassic World Evolution 2. I haven't played it, but I do think this is another one that it came out in November last year. So I think it's relatively new enough to be kind of exciting. And I know a lot of people really like these kind of park builder types of games. I mean, they always bring them to Game Pass. And my friends really like this one. So I feel like it's not the end of the world. It's not the most hot and poppin' list, but I think of what we got in the first half of the month with a ton of day one games with Eden Chronicles we'll talk about soon. When you look at Trek to Yomi, Citizen Sleeper, I'm like, yeah, when you have that many day one games, I feel like they're due for a week. I almost said a week. A lackluster.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
So still excited for some of these games, but definitely not the most thrilling list. Let's move on to Game Pass / Back Compat Pick of the Week. If this week ain't doing it for you, Miles has a selection for you. Miles, what are you recommending to the audience today? That they go into Game Pass and they say, all right, I'm going to download this.
All right, JRPG love, y'all. We are complaining about the lack of JRPGs on Xbox, and Game Pass managed to sneak in one that I really enjoyed, Eden Chronicle Rising, which is this really gorgeous mix of classic pixel art and fully rendered 3D environments. So if you've played Octopath Traveler, it's similar to that, but I think the art style of this is elevated so much more dramatically. There are like reflections in the water, in the puzzles. It's not the fake 3D effect where they're like kind of almost staggering things to make it seem like it's 3D. No, these are 3D objects. There's physics for some of the enemies and objects. So when you smash a tree, the logs shatter off. When you smash a mushroom to collect it, the mushroom hits the ground and rolls around. So they managed to really capture what I love as a longtime JRPG fan about pixel art, because that's something that's really been hard to perfect. We've seen hyper realistic graphics, and then we've seen cel shaded, and that's it. Like those are the only two options we've had for a long time when it comes to JRPG art styles. And it was really cool to see this and experience it. So Suikoden, if you ever played those games, it's got a
legendary
cult following. So it's basically a lot of the core people of that. This is their new team. Yeah. They're getting ready to launch Eden Chronicles 100 Heroes, which is supposed to have 100 playable characters. If you've played stuff like Chrono Cross, you'll be familiar with all of that noise. But this is basically the prequel game to that. It's short, sweet. You can 100% it in about 20 hours if you want to do everything there is to do in the game. I got almost all the achievements but one. I liked it. It was really good, really fun. The beginning, unnecessarily slow though. The first 3 hours of this 20-hour game are a little rough. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it at all. It starts off really slow with a lot of, hey, go talk to this person. You walk 10 feet over to the left, talk to that person. All right, cool. Go report back to that person. You walk 10 feet back to the right. And I'm not exaggerating when they have quests like that a dozen times throughout this game. So there are some things that can be improved on. But if you want some good old fashioned 2D side scrolling JRPG combat, check it out.
Right on. I like it. All right. Got some final questions from the audience, and then we'll get on out of here. First one comes from Ben, the Hitbox Detective. Hey, Dukes, it's time to tackle the backlogs. What games do you plan on returning to this summer? Personally, I am circling back to Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle and Breath of the Wild in anticipation of their sequels. I always love listening to you two, and I'm developing a joyful Pavlovian response to the notification that a new Defining Duke episode is available. I hope you both have I got an onion ring in my fries at Burger King kind of day. We've all been there.
I know about that. Yeah, the mistake.
That's a good feeling.
Shout out to Ben, man. That's the homie. That's lostgaming.net. Salute. Yeah, I'll jump in. For the backlog, I think for me, I got to get a couple done. I'm actually going to do Cyberpunk. I'm going to get it done. I got all the things for the most part straightened out.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to do a fresh, clean save and just like get rid of the stuff because I wasn't that far anyway. So I was just like, you know what? Let's just start fresh. Let's see everything over. And then sometimes, you know how you go away from a game too long anyway, so you kind of disconnect. Yeah. So I need that. So I'll do that. And then surprisingly, I got to get the Mass Effect trilogy done. I got to get that finished up. One, I'm like 70, like close to the suicide mission, and 2, just knock that out, get that cleaned up, and man, just get the. It's time to knock out the backlog. It's time to do. That's where I'm at.
Miles, how about yourself, man?
Backlog season, right? Especially on the Xbox camp, you know. Right now, I'm trying to make my way through Chrono Cross. I'm about 20 hours in. It's one of those games I played on PS1 back in the day. Really enjoyed it as a kid, so it's been cool to revisit it because, again, it's one of those sequels that followed one of the greatest RPGs of all time. People love
Miles, real quick, not to interrupt you. Are you a little upset? Shout out to Bondas who listens to us. He's huge Chrono Trigger fan. Are the Chrono Trigger fans upset that they not getting Chrono Trigger?
I think a little bit. Yeah, a lot of people are like, why are we getting a remaster of this? There is a remaster technically of Chrono Trigger on PC. Yep. And so it does exist. It's not ideal, but it's there. It's an option. It's one of the endless classic JRPG remasters that disappoints. That's kind of been the trend of the last several years. But I feel like Chrono Cross gets a lot of unfounded hate. It's one of those games that I think because it wasn't exactly Chrono Trigger, people are like, I don't like this. I don't want this. But if you take it for what it is and the experience and the characters and the art style and the unique setting, I've been really enjoying it. I never finished it on PS1, so I really want to see it through. Another one that's long and I've been trying to trod through, Death Stranding. Love the atmosphere, love the world. Really, really enjoy what Kojima created there. But it's long. The game's just so damn long, and I'm trying. Really? I'm like 45 hours in, and people are telling me like I'm not even halfway yet based on where I'm at. And I'm like, don't tell me that. So once somebody told me that, I was like, well, my momentum's gone because I don't have another 45 hours in me right now. But I want to see it through because the narrative beats in that are so big and powerful and weird. Every few hours, they introduce me to something I just didn't see coming. And that's why I like Kojima. Kojima's a weird dude. He's not afraid to get weird with his games. And, I will support it. If more companies want to spend millions and millions of dollars on the weirdest shit possible, let's go.
He said, let's get weird. I feel you. Betty?
Yeah. It's funny. I've already kind of been working on the backlog since I finished. I want to say Tiny Tina Wonderlands was my last review of like the first quarter. And then all the releases kind of dropped off a cliff. So, obviously some of the games I talked about now, I'm like Trails. I'm continuing to work through that series. A more present one is probably Ghostwire Tokyo. I know that's not like a long-standing backlog entry, but I was really keen on what I saw of that game. Some of the reviews being so divisive, and the ones that were not a fan of that game being things that stood out to me as positives, made me really amped up to try it out. I kept neglecting it. Another one I neglected, but I'm not really hungry to go play is Horizon. It's funny because my reasoning for that is I'm not in the mood for another open world game, but yet Ghostwire is an open world game. I just think Ghostwire's got a whole different flair. I'm on this big JRPG kick, so it's just fitting the vibe right now. I do want to play Horizon at some point, but I think Ghostwire is first on that list for the summer. But otherwise, like I've already been working through it, so I just I have so many games that I've purchased for my collection that I just want to mess with and play. Like I want to play Final Fantasy IV. I got that on my PSP. A laundry list of them all that I likely will never finish, but I will try to at least. And there's certain ones like for me, the biggest challenge has actually been holding off on the replays. Like I'm and Miles, you like this because I see your little posters in the background. I very strongly believe Capcom will bring back the Mega Man Battle Network series in like a collection. They've done it for Zero, they did it for X, they did it for the Legacy games. Like, you're missing the Battle Network and the Star Force games. I'm like, certainly you got to bring them back. So I had the whole collection of games. I replayed the first one about a year and a half ago, and I was about to blitz the whole series. I immediately hopped into 2, and I stopped myself because I was like, yeah, they're probably going to do that collection soon, aren't they? Here we are in 2022. They still haven't done it. I'm just like, should I wait? Like, I don't know. So like, I'm gun shy on some replays because of how many remasters and re-releases. Like, I'd go back and play the old TMNT games, but now they're doing the TMNT collection. So I'm really like gun shy on some replays. So I don't know. I've been dabbling with the backlog a lot lately, and I have some hopes and dreams that might be dashed away. But yeah, Ghostwire is probably the biggest standout for me.
No doubt.
All right. Gared Gatrust writes in, hello, Boneless Wing Maddie and Ketchup Cog.
All day.
Yeah, all day indeed.
Oh, can you catch up?
Catch up on the Mac, right? That's what we're talking about.
Oh, my man, let's go.
Catch up and buried at the end of the episode.
You put some sriracha in there too.
Oh God! Go to that young boy. Go to him. You missing out.
I'm gonna have to try it out with my spoons.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You don't understand how food works. I forgot.
Oh no, not Miles too, man.
Miles, you're welcome back any week,
dude. It's
brother.
gonna be hell on earth.
Things are awesome.
If we get like Jez and Brand in the same room with this babe, bro, we won't even have a show.
Miles gonna be crazy.
All right. Well, Gared writes in, as a child, I played a lot of handheld JRPGs. As an adult, I feel I no longer have the time to play them. I still have purchased the last few major ones to come into Xbox just to show support for the genre on the platform. With this newfound gaming drought, we as Xbox owners now have the summer/fall, thinking it might be a great time to jump back into the genre. Xbox also has a recent slew of JRPGs coming to the platform, like Nier, Tales of Arise, and not too distant in the future, Soul Hackers 2. So my question is more for Maddie, but I would like some insight from Cog as an old JRPG fan. What JRPG would you recommend to jump back in with? I hope you guys have an Atlas announces Persona 6 and it is coming to Xbox, but not on Game Pass kind of day. Thank you, Garrett. So, of course, Miles, I know you can get involved in this. Cog, I know you can get involved in this. Mm-hmm. Jens, what do you feel is the perfect Xbox drought JRPG? That's the little asterisk there. This has to be available on Xbox. That list is small still. So, Miles, I know you've written some passionate articles about this subject. I'd love to know what your pick would be for Garrett on what he should play if he's looking to get into some JRPGs as of late.
I would say that right now the gold standard for a modern JRPG for me on Xbox, Tales of Arise. If you haven't played that, incredible. It's the best combat I've played in an action JRPG in a long time. Reminded me of why I loved games like Secret of Mana and Legend of Mana back in the day. Like, beautiful atmosphere, incredible creature design, over-the-top bosses, music that just hits every single zone. You get a new track that just fills you with this energy. My favorite cel-shaded art style of any game. Bandai with Scarlet Nexus and Tales of Arise, I think they've, when it comes to cell shading, giving you that anime effect, I think they've perfected it. Tales of Arise looks incredible, runs incredibly. I know you're talking about Xbox here, but Steam Deck, if you have a Steam Deck and you haven't played it, that looks so good and runs at a lock 60 on Steam Deck as well. Perfect. You're talking about handheld JRPGs. But keeping it on Xbox, Tales of Arise, that is my number one pick right now for a modern JRPG that will remind you, if you're someone like myself who grew up playing JRPGs, loves the genre, maybe fell out in recent years due to time, whatever, play that game. That game rekindled my love for the genre in a huge way.
Very well said.
Strong. Good one. I'm going to cheat.
No.
Because technically this series wasn't really a JRPG, and their latest entry kind of tinkers with it, plays with it, teases with it. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm riding a dying for this game. I mention it all the time, and so many Xbox fans tell me there's nothing to play, and I didn't, because you haven't played Yakuza Like a Dragon. I'm riding and dying with that game. I played that game. It was my first entry into the series. I never played a Yakuza game. I asked all my hardcore Yakuza fans, like, yo, can I just jump in? Like, is it, and they're like, no, it's kind of a self-contained story. Now, obviously, there's going to be points in it where it's going to have more impact for the hardcore that have played it. But I'm telling y'all right now, not only is the story absolutely amazing, some really heartfelt moments, the actual style of the game is traditional, like JRPG style, when you go in and it's turn-based based on, the attacks, the graphics, the sprites. It's crazy. It's over the top. It's silly. It's fun. It doesn't take, it's a weird game where there's moments where it doesn't take itself seriously. And then you'll have, that kind of hit me hard. They'll have some real, like, emotional, real life discussion. Like, it was a part about homelessness. And like the main character was making fun of a character that eventually joins your party. And he's like, bro, you don't know how it is to live out here in these streets. And then you end up being homeless with this person and you having this affection. It is so good. The cinematic art style, the fighting, like, bro, you got to buy just for this one part. They have, like, how Final Fantasy have summons?
Oh,
they got this thing called pound mates. When you pick out your cell phone and you call somebody up to go attack the people, it is so over the top ridiculous. Like, and I'm like, yo, this game is amazing. And everyone has a great story. The characters are unique. Itchy, nice. Man, Itchy for life. Itchy, that's my guy. I'm telling you, all you guys frauded. There's no game. No, there's games. Y'all not playing. Yakuza Like a Dragon. Go get that. I'm riding RGG Studios all day. Go get that.
Right on. I like that. Okay, so I know Cog would think I'm trolling him, but I got to start off with the number one. Not really a JRPG, but it's a Japanese game. If you haven't played Danganronpa, what the hell are you doing? Listen to our show. Come on. This is your moment to experience peak fiction. This is your time to appreciate cinema unlike anything you've ever had before. Okay? Danganronpa 1, to me, has one of the most unsettling atmospheres that you can find in a game. It's got a really unique premise. You're trapped in a school, no sunlight coming in, and everyone is unsure who they can trust. And you got this man in the middle, Monokuma, one bear. You want to get out, you got to kill someone. And it starts to rain blood. And you got to find out who done it. It is a really, really unique Japanese style game. One of my all-time favorites on Game Pass. So you don't even have to pay to try this. You just give it a shot. Get to the end of the first trial. Don't be like Cog, push on. Trust me, you'll like it. Now, JRPGs.
Let's go.
Octopath Traveler. Oh, man. This one's on Game Pass as well. So I'm trying to save you some money here. There's another one. You got to give it a rip. This is more classic. This is more old school style. If you're like me, you're like Miles, you're like Cog, you like the mixture of the modern and old school art design, pixel art, 3D environments. Octopath was really the birthplace of that. This new, what they call HD 2D art style. It might reverse that 2D HD. I'm not sure. But that was the birthplace of it. It is one of the most beautiful games, both sound and visuals. And then it's a strong turn-based combat system that builds off of the Bravely Default series. And I think positive ways. You get these brave points. You spend them to amp up your attacks. You can spend up to 4 in a turn. And it really gives you a lot of customization with a beautiful job system where you could mix and match characters with all these different classes. Really, really fun old school JRPG. Story's not that great. Comes together at the end. Makes it pretty good, I feel. But definitely not something that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat all the way through. And really, that game was inspired by one that Square Enix is also re-releasing this year, Live Alive. So if you like Octopath, look at that game. And then the last one I got to throw out there, kind of like Cog, where he's like, man, I've been pushing for this game. We're going back to the 360, okay? Come with me. We're going back a couple of generations here. We're playing Lost Odyssey, goddammit.
Wow.
This is one that I've been pushing for a while, and everyone who's tried it has never been disappointed. Literally, my sales pitch is this, and I'll leave you at that because I've rained a lot of games on you. So is Miles, so is Cog. Final Fantasy for Xbox fans. If you want that, and you want a really heartfelt story, it's a unique character concept. He plays Kaim. He's an Eternal. He's lived through centuries of disease, conflict, humanity's golden era, so on and so forth. And now he's here in another situation. It's really, really different. Give it a shot. Again, Xbox's Final Fantasy. It was directed by the man who helped create Final Fantasy, and the composer behind it, Nobuo Uematsu, made the soundtrack for it. So just, it's S tier shit. So give that one a look. You got some good pickings.
Maddie is smoking.
All right. Josh Correa writes in, I found this to be kind of interesting. Hey, Dukes, in your opinion, which great game do you think would have been even better if it had some DLC? To me, it would have been GTA 5. Don't get me wrong, they're making bank with a capital B with GTA Online. But think about this Grand Theft Auto San Andreas not only had Los Santos and that urban area on their map, but like GTA 5 does today, but they also had San Fierro and Las Venturas. Imagine if GTA 5 made 2 DLCs, one set in either of these areas, and finally made GTA Online. Thanks, and have a I keep getting killed by the same 14-year-old kid in GTA Online kind of day. I think like GTA 5 is the easy one to pick out, but do you guys have any other games that spring to mind as like, I wish that got more DLC? Because for me, it's always going to be Fallout 4. I feel like Bethesda Game Studios just hit their stride. They got Far Harbor out. They did Nuka World. People were hungry from work because they spent a lot of time doing like workshop DLCs. No one really wanted to mess with those. Granted, it was a big part of their game, but people were looking for more like world exploration, more expansions on that level. And they did 2 of them, and everyone was like, oh, this game sold 20 plus million copies so fast. Like, they're going to support this thing for a while. And they just went, yeah, Nuka World's our last one. We're moving on. And I remember being like tremendously upset about that. And still to this day, I feel like with Far Harbor being like the perfect response to all the critique that was lopped on Fallout 4, that they had more to do, like more to prove, more they could have done and enjoyed in that world with all those mechanics. So to me, that's the game I always pick. I wanted to see more Fallout 4. And now that's even stronger because of how long it'll be until we see a new Fallout game.
What you got, Miles?
For me, this is one that's near and dear to my heart. It's one of those, like Evil Dead the game, one of those moments and experiences that I never thought would exist ever in any universe, and that is Castlevania Harmony of Despair. This weird 6-player online speed-running Castlevania RPG where everyone starts on the edge of these like iconic Castlevania locations, goes to the center, fights the boss, gets the loot drop, and there's just this really amazing loop. They did a couple pieces of DLC for it, but there's so much untapped potential, so many amazing Castlevania games that weren't represented. It's such a cool, unique experience that I go back to every few years because the servers are still on. It's back compat on Xbox, so you can go play it. It's such a good multiplayer game, and I'm clamoring for a sequel that'll never come, but I'm really disappointed that we didn't get just a few more pieces of DLC for that.
Interesting. I didn't know about that. Cog, how about you?
Yeah, I'm just similar, but for me, it's probably Outer Worlds because I really enjoyed it. I love Murder at Eridanos.
Yeah.
Love that. It was such good humor. And I felt like I maybe got one more bit of content because they had another one. I forgot what the other DLC they had before Murder.
Peril on Gorgon.
Peril on Gorgon. Yeah, right. And that was cool. But Murder, I was like, okay. I was like, all right, maybe we get one more. But then there's part of me now that's like, all right, I'll sacrifice it since y'all gonna make 2. Now that I know y'all make it 2. All right, I'll ease off. But I really, really liked Outer Worlds. And again, it's my blip. That's my Obsidian, man.
That's a really good pick.
Team all day. I gotta get me an Obsidian shirt to get the fans.
Yeah.
They clip that. They don't like when I wear shirts.
Get that in before the showcase. You might see some Avowed gameplay or something, and you're gonna need to represent.
Yeah. I gotta get.
What if they have Avowed merch?
Let's go to their team shop.
They got team shop.
Maddie, we addicted to team shop. We're bad, bro. Like, I spend too much on geek gear, like way too much money.
I bet Redbubble's got a good selection of just like Avowed merch. That'd be pretty cool to see. I'm just double checking it real quick. Nope.
Not no Avowed drip? None?
Yeah. No. There's just Avowed posters, but they're like people getting married. It's not that's not what I think Cog's looking for. All right, we got one more write-in before we close out the show. Loki2975 writes in, hey guys, with inflation and everything else going on in the world, do you think this generation will be extended like the 360 generation was? If so, how long do you think it will be? Thanks for the content and have a good day. Thank you, Loki, for writing in. Gentlemen, do you think this is plausible that maybe we see the generation go on a bit longer? You know, of course, sales out the gate have been stronger than ever for these generations, but it just feels like so many people are still clamoring for their new systems, still hunting them down. They're still short in supply. Developers haven't really completely leapt over, which I know in previous generations, it's taken multiple years as well, upwards of 5. But do you guys think that we might see a longer generation this time around?
I think it's safe to say we will. Yeah. You touched on the chip shortage in a way. And I think that's one of the biggest factors is the start of this generation, even though consoles are selling well, gaming is just way bigger than it's ever been. So the potential to get more people invested in your ecosystem, whether it's Xbox or PlayStation, is huge. And as we start to see AI tech, especially when it comes to resolution scaling, I think that's going to be the biggest factor that will keep these machines performing great for a longer period of time. Shout out to the Switch Pro if that ever happens. But even hardware that's on that level, hardware that doesn't even come close to the Series X and S, because of these AI advancements, will be able to have games that it couldn't get before. And I think that's going to make it so your Series S, your Series X, your PS5 and 4 last a lot longer. So I think it's safe to say this gen will be longer, as long as 360. What was that? 8 years, 9 years?
But
That's hard to say, but it will be probably longer than we'd expect.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, this it shows, like you said, how popular gaming truly is, Matty, because it's like we really haven't got a chance to hit our stride at the beginning of the generation. And then you figure you throw not only the chip shortage where people can't get it, then you throw a pandemic on it, which is slowing up game development. So there's been all these little pitfalls. And I think there's so much to be done, and I think this will be a long generation. Both systems are fairly capable. I do think at some point we may even get a mid-generation refresh again. Yeah. So provided the chips are available. But, I think so. I think this is going to be both camps long term. If you look at it, Xbox has really positioned themselves well. I know right now there's short-term doom and gloom. I get it. We were disappointed for the first party releases for this particular year. But if you look at that lineup and what's to come, and then when studios start to hit their stride and they're really developing, there's going to be a lot of games to be had. And we're going to be, I think we're in for a good competitive gen.
Yeah. We got on the game front a little taste at the earlier part of this year of what that onslaught will eventually be like, because it was just game after game after game after game. Now it's really slowed down. And I think, again, we're going to start to see that pick up heading into the summer. And then on the hardware front, I'm with you guys. I think that, we're going to see something a little bit longer than typically we're used to. And that would make sense just given all the circumstances with the launch of this generation, where I remember us all being on the edge of our seats, like who's going to announce the release date and the price first? Because that was up until, I want to say September is when PlayStation pulled the trigger.
It went on for a while.
It was a long while. And it was leaked what the Series S prices were going to be or something like that. And it was just a really back and forth, like who's going to shoot first type of mess. So I feel like lopping all those types of circumstances onto the generation is just only going to extend it a little bit further. We'll see how long though once we get running. But that's all we got for this week's episode. Miles, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thanks for hanging about 3 hours with us, brother.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys inviting me. Like we talked about at the beginning, there was a lot to dive into. It's been a week in gaming, and I'm curious to see what the hell the rest of this year is. But it was great hanging with you dudes.
No doubt, man. Miles, big fan of you, brother. Big fan of you, man. He had to get you in the realm of the Dukes, talking those games, love the passion. You're killing it out there, man. Tell the people where they can find you, man. People that don't know about the great Miles Dompier.
If you want to get a hold of me, you can find me on Twitter. I'm on Twitter too much, at Miles Dompier. If you want to find what I'm working on, you can find most of my written coverage on windowscentral.com and most of my video coverage on youtube.com/Windows Central Gaming.
Nice. What's that podcast you got?
Oh, yeah. I do a podcast as well. Xbox Chatter Days, live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune in for the latest and greatest in Xbox news. No, really fun show. One-on-one, intimate session, a lot of community interaction. Really love the show. Really,
it's good.
I'm shocked that anyone cares, but it's there if you want to watch it, and I appreciate everyone who does.
No doubt, no doubt. Salute to Miles.
Right on.
Salute.
Please check out Miles. And for those of you who got this deep into the episode, you're a good hashtag guy. What are you feeling for the hashtag? So people
there was
can
a lot.
mark.
We talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Damn, there was so many moments though. Like we got Miles himself, right? We could do that. We
could do that. We did that for Cold. I feel like it's fair we did that for
We did that for Cold. Yeah, we could do Miles DD.
Yeah.
We could do Miles DD.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. He's bringing about the
There
flag.
we go. So you got this deep into the episode. You finished it all up. Use the hashtag MilesDD, tag at Miles Dompier, tag at G7 Status, and at Lord Cognito over on Twitter. That'd be fantastic. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the episode. Otherwise, the comment section works just as fine. Use the hashtag. Let us know what you think. And with that, take excellent care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week for episode 73. Peace out.
Peace.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.